What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch in the Rube, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis, inspiring people to look better, feel better, survive football season better every damn day of their lives. And our Thursday night show, brought to you by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today. Play the games we're playing. Bet the games we're betting. There's some opportunities this weekend to make some money, maybe on the Ohio State Buckeyes, but on some other things as well. We'll get into that momentarily. Jason, how you doing?
Caw.
Instead of boo,
Caw. What's up, buddy? I think we're going to make caw shirts with the Couch and the Rube logo.
I think it makes sense.
Yeah. There's going to be a limit of 20, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because
Don't you want a
Treese
whole...
we don't have like 3 people to help Treese out with the manufacturing. So if you make 20...
But what if Spartan Stadium wants 75,000 caw shirts for the
Well,
coaching
I
staff?
think we're going to have to outsource that to someone else.
Therese, 75,000 shirts.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Quit your job.
That sounds like a plan.
All right.
I bet you the demand. We'll see if the demand gets to 20. I'll be very curious. I bet you it does.
I think so.
Yeah. No, that. Well, I look forward to that. We'll.
I look forward to playing it for the next 2 hours.
Yeah, it should be. We're gonna get into your Groovy Donut Twitter questions. Fantastic stuff as always. I think this is. I say this a lot, like it's gonna be one of our better shows. But sometimes I leave putting together the Twitter questions inspired by our listeners, and tonight was one of those nights. So I feel I feel really good. I feel really good about just
Should I complain about the game being on Amazon?
That's your thing on Thursdays.
Right? No,
Yeah.
Not that anyone gives a shit. This game's terrible.
One of these days we'll just set it up here. We should remember to do that.
I don't think we need to. These games are garbage.
Yeah.
They should stop playing them.
All right, let's before we dig into these Groovy Donut Twitter questions, as we do every Thursday night, it's what we're betting this weekend, presented by the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Jason, what are you betting this weekend?
I got a little 3-leg parlay that I jumped on a little bit earlier this week. College football, Kansas at home versus TCU. I know TCU scored a shit ton of points last Saturday. I just like Kansas, and you're giving me a touchdown at home. I think this line's dropped. Washington at Arizona State, firing Herm Edwards. I just don't think even though they're going to be at home, I think Penix can cover 13.5. And, of course, Ohio State had to jump on this, Graham, at 24 and a hook. I don't love it. I mean, this sucks to have to bet against your team. And I did announce when I was in Vegas, when I took Duke first half money line over Michigan State, it was complete ass. But you know what? I can't help myself. This is just free money to me.
And to me, if you're somebody who's not really looking forward to this game and you think you might not watch it or you're going to look away and you think Ohio State's going to win big, you might as well make some cash off it.
Right.
If you're going to watch the game, to me, like, I can understand from a fan perspective, especially if you're going to the game, if you're going to be in the stadium, that's a tough psychological dance.
You don't want to do that.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks. It's not worth the money. It's not. Because think about it. Unless you're really into, like, high-stakes gambling, and God help you that you've been listening to our advice all this time, but, like, you're spending enough to go to the game for the whole experience. Like, don't make $50 off Ohio State and ruin your day. Don't do that. It's just not worth it. That would be my advice on that.
With a long shot chance that Michigan State might actually cover the spread. They're not winning the game, but I just don't see it. From what we've seen so far, if they do it, I'll eat crow, I guess, but man, I don't see it.
All right, so my bet this week, another parlay, less risky.
Soccer.
Kind of chicken shit. A mix, yes.
Peacock.
Okay, it's two money line bets. Bills minus 950 against the Steelers.
Minus 950?
Yeah, Man City minus 800 at home against Southampton, which is a gimme. I mean, these are both gimmies, those first two. But they just add a little juice to a game I really all of a sudden like. Chelsea, who I watched play in the Champions League and look a little bit better. The Wolves have fired their coach. I don't like where Wolverhampton is right now. Chelsea at home minus 260. So with the three of those, by tacking a little Man City and minus 800 and Bills minus 950 on there, you get the 3-team parlay at minus 139. You're basically just playing Chelsea at home to win on the money line. I think that's a great play.
But you don't trust the Bills? Maybe like an alternate line to
juice it up a little bit,
plus money or something. I mean, it just sounds like ass.
You could do that.
Those parlays.
You could do a little plus money. Yeah, I mean, you could get it down to about even if you just did a little Bills alternate line. Get it to so they got to be
$5.90. Jesus.
$9.50.
$9.50. Excuse me. That's ridiculous.
That's on the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook. So that is my suggestion and for this weekend. Hey, $100 plays or $139 plays 100. I think it's a good deal. I think it's a good way of juicing that up. That is, and I haven't been on Chelsea in a while, but I am back on this week.
I was wondering.
Yeah, you've been asking about that all the time, and also, you can do these on the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app, or an unbelievable way to spend a college football or NFL Sunday, of course, or a Premier League morning, is at at Daisy Sportsbook at Firekeepers in Battle Creek off 94. I mean, if you haven't done the in-house Firekeepers Sportsbook experience, definitely worth doing. All right, you ready to dig into these Groovy Donut Twitter questions?
Of course, my friend. Eric Schultz up first. Does Mel Tucker have a running guys out of the program problem? You can't convince me that Kimbrough, Williams, and Speed are better than Gervin or Barnett.
This is an interesting question because I think philosophically you're usually better off keeping as many guys as you can in the short run. I also watched PJ Fleck run 19 guys out of the program at Western Michigan, and then he went 1-whatever the next year, 1-11. But then he did something there that never been done and probably will never be duplicated and going undefeated. That just doesn't happen in that league.
But isn't it different with the transfer portal now, though? When guys leave, is it that big of a deal as it used to be?
The thing that is, I think it's harder to develop older guys that are coming from other schools than it is to develop guys who are in the program. So I think in terms of developing, what you have to do is you have to decide quickly, is somebody not worth developing? Can you get something better in the portal? I also don't think this is entirely Mel Tucker's call here. I mean, Gervin had started, 3 games last year and then lost his starting job and then left after game 4. This is partly that game 4 deal, and we'll see it a little this week. We'll see who's not out there. I guess they played 5 games at this point, but we'll still start to see it if guys admit. Yeah, take that back. Fix that in post because I forget they're 2 and 3. But this is one of those things where guys react quickly after 4 games thinking, I got to salvage my eligibility now and make decisions maybe hastily, because Gervin's down at Kansas, and he's in the same situation. Good team, but he's starting some weeks, not others. He's kind of on the fringe of being a starting corner. That's who he is at the high major level. Now, if he had stayed at Michigan State and tried to keep developing, would have that been the better play? Probably. Would that be better for MSU? Probably. And I do think it's something Tucker needs to be aware of. Now, it's going to be more and more his guys, so we'll see if that continues. But it would be interesting over a beer with Mel Tucker to ask him, you look back 2 years, that Ohio State game in early December when they got, just run out of the building, and he really sort of, for the first time, started saying compete to, play, compete to stay, and there can be some changes and showing impatience. Did he react too much and show too much impatience? And how many of those guys were really sort of nudged out, and how many of them just left of their own accord? And so that would be an interesting thing to try to figure out that dynamic a little bit.
Next one from Eric. How similar is Scotty Hazleton's D to Matt Patricia's? I'm sure the coverages and schemes are different, but to me, it's the same overall mindset. Don't blitz, drop 7 in coverage, refuse to pressure the quarterback, and watch your fans hate every second of it.
I have not studied a lot of Matt Patricia's defense.
And you know how Lions this weekend is going to be if Matt Patricia, whatever he's coaching, is he coaching
offense,
the offense or the center? I don't know what he's doing, but if all of a sudden the Patriots with Bailey Zappy score 40 points, I mean, it just sucks to be a Lions fan.
Well, I also don't like the philosophy overall. Now, I think Scotty Hazleton this week, I think they have to do what Hazleton's done to the nth degree. Like, I think this is not a week to man up and play man defense. This is a week
to the quarterback somehow.
This is a week also, though, to say, hey, keep that dude in front of you. This is a week for that, to
blitz,
make them drive the field. But most of the time, I love aggressive defenses. I'll live and die by a defense that tried to get home and didn't on a blitz or leaves people out in an island, whatever. I'm good with it. I just prefer that kind of defense to what Patricia and Hazleton run.
Last one from Eric. I've not heard you use the words thorn and dumpster fire together in a sentence yet. Does he have incriminating photos of you or something? In year 2 as a starter, the kid has been a train wreck. You know you can eat the burger and give a proper analysis of the player, right?
Appreciate you, Eric. I don't think he's been a train wreck. I would say it if he had.
I mean, train wreck is pretty.
Yeah. Do you see train wreck in Payne
I don't see train wreck. I see him running for his life, making some bad throws, but train wreck is something different than that.
Yeah. And look, he has not risen to a level of a guy who can carry a team. Right now, he's a guy who's definitely impacted a lot by things around him, and as are most college quarterbacks. But I don't think he's been the problem. Now, the second half against Maryland, I didn't think he played well, and I thought there were some things were a little, I don't want to say uncharacteristic because he's had some issues this year, but were some weird throws, and it's certainly something to monitor. Where his head is, where his confidence is. This will be an interesting week. But I dumpster fire, I wouldn't call it. I've watched every game back. I don't see it. And has he taken the step that people hoped? No, he hasn't. And that's fair to say, but I would not call it dumpster fire.
Dominic next. How am I supposed to keep track of what Graham really thinks? I can see MSU covering for 57 minutes of the show. Then I like Ohio State to cover this with ease. Bruh.
Yeah, did I do that?
You are kind of wishy-washy, yeah.
I mean, I did say
Harry, you were like talking about buying a point down or half point down for this game. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
No, I wouldn't take MSU. I understand. I can see a scenario is what I said. Like,
I'm saying you said take Ohio State, but maybe if you can buy it like a half point or something. And I was like, all right, why are you doing that?
I don't remember that. But sometimes the sky gets the best out of me. Yeah. For me to take MSU, I would need the line to be somewhere in the 40s for me to consider it. And I think the prediction that's going up tomorrow morning in the LSJ was 48-14. I do think the way MSU would cover this game is not by it being a competitive game, but by it being more like 2016 Michigan State-Michigan, where that was like 30-10 at halftime. Nobody scored in the third, and then Michigan State played well in the fourth. Like, I can see a scenario where late MSU does have the goods against an Ohio State team that's, out in front and backdoor covers. Like, that's the cover scenario for me for Michigan State, I think. But I'm picking them to lose by 34, so I obviously think MSU's not going to cover.
Dominic and Alex James with the same thought. Did you see Shep go hard at the Tigers at the end of the finale's broadcast? Either homie grew a dick or he knows he's not coming back. Regardless, major kudos to him being pissed off. Nice guy, though. And finally, someone speaks up and comments on the state of the Tigers, even if he's about to be fired anyway.
Did you see this?
I have it if you want to listen to it.
Yeah, let's do it.
It starts with Petrie being long-winded, but here we go.
Talks about a little bit about, just try to be patient if you can. But I still don't think that they're going to just want to just tear this thing completely apart and just start over again. I don't think they want to come out either and just say, hey, we're going to make the playoffs. But I would think that somebody is just going to say, look, there's going to be an improvement over this year, but let's just see what moves are made and who we see come in. The whole way, too. You're going to need offense. You're going to need starting pitching. As Jack said, what's going to happen with the bullpen. So once you have a pretty good indication of who's leaving, who's coming in, then you can better, I think, say, okay, what are the chances of the team being a 500 team or being over 500 team? It's just a matter of who and how this thing is reconstructed.
Look, I love my friend Dan Petrie. I'm going to totally disagree. I think you got to expect to make the playoffs. Okay, this is a franchise. It's a proud franchise. It's an original American League franchise that has won 4 World Series. Not since these guys suited up in 1984. That's unacceptable. St. Louis has 11. The Dodgers have won 10 straight division titles, for crying out loud. The Braves have won 6 in a row. It's ridiculous. The bar has to be set higher for the Tigers. And A.J. Hinch admits it. You don't want to cover losing teams any longer. He wants to play meaningful games. We've taken good players and thinking that they're great players that we're making them almost iconic when really that bar is set on a too low of a basis. Detroit has got to get back to expecting bigger things from this baseball team, and I think Scott Harris will bring that, and I think A.J. Hinch will relay that for certain. From where?
All right.
I mean, he's smart.
Talking like a normal.
He's smart
person.
enough to compliment the GM at the end, the new GM. But
the best is when Dan Petrie looks over at him. He's like, "I got to disagree with my man Dan Petrie here," and Petrie's like, "What? We're not supposed to do that on Bally Sports." I mean, yeah, it's great that Shep's doing it, but come on, Shep, why haven't you been doing that?
Well,
all season long or half the season.
He works for the team. I get that, but
you're going to do it at the finale broadcast,
right?
Does he know he's getting shit canned?
But I also think, yeah, you got to find a way to. You don't have to go all the way in all the time, but there's got to be a.
We're fascinated with the people talking like normal people. Because Bally's the broadcast, they want to make it family friendly or some shit, and you can't talk like you normally talk or whatever. I mean, that's what Shepard's saying to me is just kind of like what we say on this
all the
show.
time.
So
no,
I don't know. Big deal.
What's great though is he did win over some people. There's no question. I looked at the comments under. I mean, he won over some people, and that's good. Good for him. The thing is, and you can't do that on every broadcast 81 all the time, but there should be a little more of an edge. Slightly more of an edge. And that's one of the great talents, and this is where I think he really struggles. One of the talents of being a team broadcaster is understanding how to straddle that line so you don't get fired, but you don't sound like you're just propaganda, PR, Tuck's going to win 5 natties shit all the time, right?
You got to have gotta be I don't give a fuck attitude somewhat.
Right. You got to be you got to have a little bit of like I think Dan Dickerson does it better, just in tone. Dickerson, only tweets after victories, which drives me nuts. But like the losses didn't happen. But he's better in tone, and I think that is something you got to get there. I love Dan Petrie though. He's like, fuck it, I plan to be here. I'm not saying shit. He's like, I'm cashing this.
So long-winded and boring. But that's the Bally's broadcast in a nutshell.
Yeah.
It's Jack Morris and Petrie just blowing heat and not saying a goddamn thing. So it's just like, I mean, yeah, I'm happy for Shep. That was great and all, but do it earlier on. Do it 10 games ago or something.
Yeah,
you don't have to go crazy like that. But whatever. Dominic with this one. The NBA is starting, so my annual questions. What did Brian Windhorst do to Joe Rexrode? And what did LeBron have having going on in South Beach that made him leave?
I can't. That's not my story. See, neither one of them. I apologize. I never should have hinted at him.
You really shouldn't have.
I know. It's ass. It's bullshit.
Mean, sometimes on this show it happens. Like I understand, but
and the problem is Dominic listens. I mean, a lot of people listen because people bring things up and people pay attention.
Dominic's our only listener.
I am used to talking to my wife, who I could say all this to, and usually it would just be, whatever. He said something. I don't know what that was. But people here listen.
Do you think she just nods, though? She probably doesn't even comprehend it. Oh, really?
Every once in a while, though, she'll repeat something back that I said like a year and a half ago that I didn't think she was paying attention to. I'm like, what else has she been paying attention to? That's fascinating.
Dominic, what's the going Venmo rate for Graham to ask Tuck a question? For real. Like if I wanted the Ohio recruiting question asked, what is it, $50, $100, more?
We had another listener. I took it out just because it was
you don't like him?
No, redundant. Ask about why that was such a big deal. I mean, obviously, mentioning D'Antonio had a lot of great Ohio recruits. I just didn't until you said it the other day, and I apologize. I did not think it was a thing. Like I didn't even realize anybody had comprehended that. Nor did I think it was a big deal. No, well, just because
on Facebook
because he's been recruiting well.
Yeah,
I didn't think that like for example, if Mel Tucker was struggling to recruit, it'd be like, well, why the hell isn't he recruiting Ohio? But when he's recruiting better than anybody at MSU ever has, it's like, oh, I didn't realize there was something. So I just didn't realize people were the Ohio thing was actually a thing for people. And if it is, let me know and tell me why. And I mean, I get that it was a big thing for D'Antonio, but why you think it's a concern? And I'll ask it. I'm happy to, because ultimately we're like a conduit of the of readers and listeners. I mean, that's the whole point. If we're just not there for our own, other than Chris Solari, who we'll just we'll ask great questions for his own well-being. The rest of us are there to serve you.
I love the buddy cop movie that goes on during Tucker's press conference where you guys just tweet at each other. It's very cute. I love it. Maybe, if you are demonstrably the worst person in the country at your job, should you get fired? What if you have more resources comparatively to other people who objectively have less? What if you have never been anything more than average at your job in your entire career?
I feel like this is a Scotty Hazleton
about me.
subtweet. Yeah.
Oh.
The roof.
Been more than average.
These are, you should be.
No, give him another week, like Graham says, every other week.
We'll get into this more, I think, with some other Twitter questions. I do think there is.
What a tease.
Well, I think there's another Twitter question on this. Sometimes, like I did another podcast with Chris Solari today, and sometimes I can't remember what we talked about versus the Twitter questions.
Johnny Spirit.
That question's in here.
Oh, good.
But, sometimes I do wonder if – no, it is in here. The Twitter question is in here, and I want to get into that with Scotty Hazleton a little later. But, look, it's a fair question. If you think Scotty Hazleton is awful at his job, then he should be fired. There's no question about it. And I don't know that I don't think he's doing a good job right now. And so Mel Tucker's going to have to figure that out. Look, if I were in Mel Tucker's shoes, I wouldn't fire any of these guys in the middle of this season. I don't see a whole lot of benefit to that right now, unless you thought what you were seeing week to week was the problem.
But we talk about losing the locker room. What if, it gets embarrassing and you start to lose the locker room?
Well, great
That's
example.
what you're scared of.
No, totally. If defensive players start tuning out Hazleton or you lose the locker, you have to do it, right? If it's what's happening here and now, ultimately what you think if you're Mel Tucker is, hey, this isn't the exact defense I want to run moving forward. I want to get a different voice in here. But that's an after the season move. You're not going to do that anyway now. You want to go and you may start looking around to who guys you might want to hire, but you're not going to do that now.
Steve Beckman next. I said MSU would cover against Ohio State because the line would be ridiculous. MSU plus 26 and a hook isn't ridiculous enough. Jason said he would take MSU plus 42.5, and Graham said he wouldn't feel confident unless it was in the upper 40s. Do you still feel that way? I mean, what's changed since we did the show Tuesday?
And what's always different for me is I don't actually bet Michigan State. So it's different if it's my actual money, I examine things differently. And so I always look at it more through the lens of what I'm advising other people.
Wow.
Was that
man
deep?
Of the people?
Right. Well, I don't want to be an ass.
For my readers.
I didn't mean it like that.
Very Mitch album.
It didn't sound good. Can we fix that in post?
Yeah, no, we're leaving that in.
Yeah, do you still feel the way you felt earlier this week? Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah, no, and I think I would look, I picked MSU to lose by 34. So that tells you about if that's the score I pick in the paper, and obviously their games can go a little bit differently, but I think anything under 30, I would feel pretty good taking Ohio State.
I mean, is last year's defense better than this year's? I mean, what is Stroud? Look at what Stroud did last year, and look at the defense this year. He's going to have 700 yards, right?
Yeah, although I do think last year, the lesson that better have been learned last year. So last year, Kenneth Walker's injured. They're playing. I do think their running game won't be worse than last year. I think an injured Kenneth Walker ran 6 times. That wasn't helpful. The other thing I think is you have to run the football regardless this week, and that needs to be a lesson that was learned. I wrote a column today on looking at previous times they've either played competitively or pulled the upset when they've been a massive underdog.
Yeah.
And people talk about that 98 game. Now, a couple things why that 98 game isn't relative to now is that 98 team, Michigan State team I'm talking about, actually had maybe better talent than the Ohio State team, even though they were 28-point underdogs. They underachieved that year, but they had Plaxico Burress and Julian Peterson and Demetrius Underwood and Robert Smith and Ronaldo Hill. They had 3 first-round picks, and they had the guys. They had Cedric Irvin. I mean, it was a loaded team. And in some ways, some guys were still a year away, but it was a loaded team. This team doesn't have that. But what that team did do in that game is Cedric Irvin ran 26 times for 52 yards. And when I talked to Irvin, when I did a piece in 2015 about that, he talked about how important that was. You have to have balance regardless. It doesn't matter the yardage. What that allowed them to do in that game is the threat of the run allowed that passing game to work. And that's the same this week. Peyton Thorne and Keon Coleman and Jaden Reed, those guys, if it's just shotgun or guys knowing they're going to throw it, it's not going to work. They've got to run the football, and so fans are going to have to deal with the fact that there may be back-to-back 2-yard runs. There's an effectiveness to that in this particular game. This is, and I think that is the one thing that is a carryover that you can learn from other situations where it's worked okay.
Steve Beckman next. Can we get a final Tigers gambling update now that their season is mercifully over? Did either of you end up profiting off them?
Buenos tardes. It is time for the Detroit Tigers gambling update with Gramanito Couch and Jason Nick.
We should have Doug do a Lions one.
We should. Oh, yeah. Now that Doug's back, yeah, we got to take advantage of having Doug back in the fold. No, I did not. Well,
I don't think I did.
I don't either. I had a stretch. I had one good stretch for a while where they were scoring like 0 runs, and the other team was scoring 4 because their pitching was decent, so they were always going under. And I was winning 80% for like a month. But I they had some other stretches where I lost more, so I think I probably broke about even. Yeah.
Steve Beckman with this one. Oh no, Ken Chu, excuse me. What's the over-under on the number of people that get it when I say caw caw at Spartan Stadium on Saturday?
This is our Cosmic Fries question of the day, by the way. Presented by Hopcat, the best damn beer bar, world-famous Cosmic Fries, mouth-watering, award-winning burgers, including the Peyton Thorne burger. No matter what you think of him as a quarterback, 2 smash patties with American cheese, bacon, and a sunny-side egg served on a pretzel bun with those Cosmic Fries. And
swoop down and eat it.
And again, what they do so well is carefully curated craft beer from local partners. And I think that's cool. It feels like a local pub at every single Hopcat, whether you're in Lansing or Grand Rapids or Ann Arbor or Kalamazoo. Lots of TVs to watch the game. But also a cool vibe if you'd rather not watch the Michigan State game, which is completely understood. Go to Go to hopcat.com. And then I swore with the F word over a sponsor. I apologize. We'll fix that in post. Not great. Go to hopcat.com for location information and see where the nearest Hopcat is to you. Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, Detroit, Lansing, Kalamazoo, Indianapolis, elsewhere. I mean, just a great selection of places for Hopcat. To Ken's question.
Oh, he had a question?
Yeah. How many people would recognize the caw caw? I would love to see if all of a sudden in the press box I could hear caw, caw, caw. It would be amazing.
You have to tell Ohio State fans then.
That's true.
Ben Jen, what is the realistic best case scenario for MSU on Saturday? CJ Stroud gets the flu.
Yeah, you know what it is, though? It's either an early turnover. I think the other thing is the realistic, and we're talking realistic best case scenario. Michigan State gets the ball, does not defer, which don't defer if you're Michigan State, scores on the opening drive, which could happen, and then gets a stop on 3rd down. Like unlikely, but happen. And all of a sudden there's a buzz, there's a field, wait a second. So you get out in front a little bit, and all of a sudden Ohio State's going, wait a sec, this is a game. I do think the problem is, outside of injuries, which I'm not going to call the best case scenario for anybody, the problem is at some point Michigan State's defense is going to break down against these guys, and they're going to hit you with a couple quick strikes. So I think the best case scenario is not a win. I don't think they can beat them. I think the best case scenario is they hang with them so it's somewhat respectable, 3 touchdowns, and then they're able to score late, get it to a couple scores, and kind of keep their dignity and leave there feeling okay about themselves, and nobody, the fans, team's not embarrassed, anything like that. That's kind of the best case scenario.
Best case scenario, Mr. Benjen, is get stoned off Skymint and forget about the game.
Skymint is, I'm telling you, if there's ever been a weekend for Skymint, this is it.
Yeah.
Go to skymint.com for the nearest location. But
it's very clean there.
3 in the
their establishments.
Yeah. Good. And they, look, if you have questions, they'll answer. They won't make you feel dumb either. So if you're new to Skymint and you got Biden today decriminalizing it everywhere. It's already legal, so you don't need it. But although pardoning people too. But I will cut that. I didn't need that. I don't know why I got into that. Anyway, and now I'm bringing politics into live ad reads. I'm using the F word. Not a strong performance starting out.
Benjen, with this one, what are the top 3 things I should have prepared to do Saturday if that best case scenario doesn't happen?
Watch a different game.
Skymint.
That too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Groovy Donuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, I had
Cask and Company.
Had 4 groovy donuts tonight when did a taste test with Elizabeth.
Jesus.
Did a nice job, yeah. We just cut them each and do a little different. Yeah, it's good.
And you put the other half in your pocket?
Then I pretend to throw them away and I eat
For
them.
later. Benjen, can you please go beep, beep, caw, snort again? What's he talking about?
Is that what I said? Beep, beep. Caw. Caw. Did I do it? I can do it in a Yoda voice. No, I couldn't do it in a Yoda voice. Do you think that Bill Beekman.
What is this show? Gluten Weasel. If by some miracle MSU were to win on Saturday, where would it rank in the all-time upsets for both MSU and college football in general?
I mean, in college football, I don't think it would be all that high, or it wouldn't be recognized that high because Michigan State's got a decent brand. They're both in the Big Ten, and they're.
But if you explained it 10 years from now, what happened, it would be a giant upset.
The problem is that people will historically look at the numbers like the point spread, and like we were saying earlier, like I think this is very different than the 98 game in terms of, point spread the same, but talent on the roster not. And so I would, for Michigan State, this would be maybe the biggest upset ever. This would be, because it's just the most unlikely and the actual biggest mismatch ever that they had won.
Sports Guy 1919. Can you give the origin of Graham Stout? I always thought it was a play, Graham Couch, but recently got the hint it might be a real person.
I forget that if you're not from around here, like Tim Stout is not really a person anybody knows.
Are you out of your mind? It's worldwide Stout. What are you talking about? Okay.
So,
I used to work with Stout.
Yeah.
I used to do the show with him. I was his producer, and Stout would never, ever give an answer. He would just go on either side. It wouldn't surprise me, okay, if Ohio State blows them out, but it wouldn't shock me if Michigan State covers that spread. So you just walk away knowing less than what you went in with. And that's what Graham does here and there.
And there's so many interesting things about it. Like he is a Channel 10
legend.
He's been there forever at the NBC affiliate in Lansing. He also has his own morning radio show. He also is a fierce rival of Jack Ebling, and I've always enjoyed like how much they dislike each other. It's fun to watch. So there's that. And my wife also
we need to hear that story.
My wife also worked at Channel 10 for a while as an overnight producer when she first started in the business, and she would she got some Stout stories as well. So it was
she worked overnight. Stout wasn't there.
No, but she would get in when he was leaving.
Oh.
And so she would see him like take the cans from the newsroom home to go to.
I've witnessed it too. It's wild. Alex James, have either of you heard the MSU football radio broadcast this year? Holy shit. I haven't heard Uncle George sound this depressed since Chauncey was traded.
I want Blaha to have a Twitter account. So I run into Blaha in the press box of the Maryland game. And we're just chatting about Elijah Collins' first half at halftime.
Does he see you or you see him first?
He saw me. Like this is this is the best thing. For me, the fact that Blaha sees me and always wants to chat is like one of the great things of my life.
So jealous of that.
Because like
I hate you for that.
He's like a freaking childhood hero of mine. Like when I was telling you before, we were at Flapjack in Lansing once on a Sunday morning, and I was there with my wife and a couple people, and Blaha was at another table because he stays over after the night games, whatever. He gets up, comes over, and starts chatting with me. My wife said, she could see my face light up like a 5-year-old that just seen Santa Claus. Like I would just
see Brendan Quinn.
So excited to see him. That is a story almost worth telling, presented by our friends. Yeah, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company, 402 South Washington Avenue in downtown Lansing. As the weather turns, and look, Midtown Brewing Company, cozy place, unbelievable beer, great menu. I love the American Stout beer. You give me a chilly night, a friend at the bar with an American Stout. It's one of the great nights with Tim Stout.
Okay. Are you picking these up?
At Midtown.
Do you have any cans in the back?
Midtown Brewing Company. But anyway, I forgot to say what. So Blaha says to me something like, I says, well, yeah, I think they should probably play Elijah Collins a little more. He goes, yeah, if they want to win. It's like, man, I wish you had a Twitter account. You just fire that off.
You think George would be on there firing that off?
He was. I could tell he was frustrated. He's like, they gotta freaking play Elijah more.
Yeah. Alex James next. Why has it been 7 years since MSU had back-to-back respectable seasons? Which is the greatest driver of these lean years for MSU? Coaching, quarterback play, or defense?
All of the above, but not defense. So not all of the above. Sorry, because they did. I don't want to say that because like the the 2018-19 years, and I know 19 fell apart, but that was not defense of related. So when you talk about 7 years, they have not had a great quarterback play. They have not found a guy to the level of Connor Cook since him. But ultimately, it was coaching and the program falling down. A lot of it was the down of one and the beginning of another staff, and those are your 7 years.
But what if you took Connor Cook and put him on this year's team?
It wouldn't.
I mean, is it really Peyton Thorne? I mean, I know Connor Cook had a great, teammates and players around him and all that stuff, but
the peak of Connor Cook was better. What Connor Cook had, and it's easy to forget it because Connor Cook had such a sad dismount, right? He had the whole thing with his dad. He's drafted late, falls apart with the Raiders. Even with MSU at the end, had the injury and why he didn't play the Ohio State game and all this. It wasn't a great dismount, right? And they won without him at that Ohio State game. But at his peak, what was amazing about him is, like, he had a pocket feel that I've always thought it's why I thought he had a chance in the NFL, and it didn't pan out. But like, he had a feel for what was going around his legs, and it didn't panic him. Like Kirk Cousins, you throw a Twix wrapper at his feet, and he's going to throw an interception, right? He didn't mind having a helmet at his knee or whatever, and Connor Cook had that. And so I do think with some of these not great offensive lines, at his best, he would have made a sizable difference. But there's only a stretch of play from him that would have done that.
Alex James next. What really happened at Munn Arena between Solari and Johnny Spirit?
I have to get Solari to really tell everything. I don't know. I mean, his hatred for Johnny Spirit though is real. Like, when we see Johnny Spirit on the road, like at a bowl game or something, and I look at Solari, it's almost like a pit bull you have to hold back.
But what is the gist of it? I mean, is it because he kind of I've witnessed Johnny Spirit in action. I can see why people despise him. Because he just walks around like he owns the joint? Is that what it is?
No, it's something specific. I believe when they were students, and I will have to get Solari to tell the story. But you go back to their age, and Solari, Solari went to MSU. He was there in the mid '90s, so it goes back to that era.
Paul E. Show next. Why does the LSJ go through so many sports storytellers?
Nearly made this the Hopcat. Question of the day.
I'm surprised you left it in.
No, it's a fair question. By the way, I'm doing the show instead of drinking with Ryan Black and the rest of the LSJ staff for like his final week in town. Like, he's out doing his.
Ryan Black was probably like, hell yeah.
Yeah, no.
I'm sorry you got to do that show.
I'll try and meet them later. Although I've seen Ryan when he starts drinking, it's going to be he does not drink a lot, so that when he occasionally does, I've been on the road with him. I'm like, what the hell happened to that guy?
I know the feeling, Ryan. I know it.
So I look forward to meeting up with him at 11 p.m. and being like, what's going on? Anyway,
I miss those days.
No, it's a couple things. One, and we're hoping to fix this. One, we have not. I'll just be blunt. We have not always paid that position, as well as some other positions in the market for people of that talent. But the big thing that's happened is it's a job. There aren't many jobs like it where you get so much freedom and the ability to tell certain types of stories that you get noticed. And so most of those people have been recruited out from us. Like, they haven't applied for anything. Ryan is leaving, and I'll let him announce where he's going unless I accidentally did it already. But
is it because you guys make him sleep on an air mattress in a cubicle at the offices?
Like,
they can afford.
He wasn't planning, and he makes a decent living with us. But he was not actively seeking anything else. Somebody came at him, and rightfully so. He's really good. So we're trying to rectify that in a decent way. But it's a pain in the ass because it's we're gonna miss Ryan, and I'm sad he's leaving.
Sounds like it. Paulie Show next. Do you think Tucker told recruits this is going to be a rough year, hang in there before the season, which is why none have decommitted yet?
I doubt that, but he said something last week that was, he talked about the type of recruits they want, and I do think there is. I think one thing they do really well in recruiting is there's not a lot of BS or blowing smoke. And so when things don't go wrong, they're able to have don't go right, they're able to have frank conversations with kids. Oh, this is why it's happening. And look, and you can play right away. And he even said that this week. There's opportunity for kids, and they see that. Be part of the rise. Be part, he's selling that. And they saw enough last year, and I think they like him. But I do think, and obviously this is something that could change if things really fall apart, and it'll be a test of their program. But I think a lot of his players sell the program for him because they don't do a lot of bullshit. They show up and the kids are like, yeah, that's really what it is. But, again, they haven't had real rough waters yet. So we'll see if that changes. And, D'Antonio didn't lose anybody, and I know they weren't as highly touted during the 3-9 season. That whole class stuck with him. So kids are as fickle as they are about when they're being recruited initially. A lot of time when they truly make a decision about somewhere they want to be. Now in the NIL world, we'll see if it gets different, and this could be a little bit different time. But I that is a credit to them. But I also think it's something that kids are sometimes more firmly set on going somewhere. They don't want to be disrupted unless they were on the fence already. Like if you're a 17-year-old kid who's a 4-star commitment and you really like Mel Tucker and you really like the idea of playing at Michigan State and you think you can play early and they lose a few games, are you thinking, well, this program isn't headed where I thought? And as long as the rest of the class is hanging in there, I think you're probably feeling okay.
Patrick Russell next. What can the press do to better educate the public on why MSU is struggling this season? I think half the fan frustration is due to not understanding why and getting very few answers. It was very beneficial when Nick Baumgartner would break down plays in his article with a clip.
Yeah, in terms of that stuff, that would be helpful, and there isn't anybody doing a lot of that right now. The Athletic is a place that does that a fair bit, and it probably should be done more. But I think more what's needed is where we can help and be better is better questions like to Tucker or Hazleton, like, okay, explain to a fan what isn't working and why isn't. Not the inches, not the execution. Like if you were to draw it on a whiteboard or just speak it so they could understand this really isn't happening a lot. Give us a real good example of why this should work, why this is the system that should work and why it isn't. And I think
you should bring a whiteboard.
I think we need to be more detailed in those questions and sort of the demand of those questions and not let them just get away with the inches and the execution lines.
Patrick Russell with this one. Thoughts on an article on Aaron Henry, his journey in playing with Victor Wembanyama.
It's not. He's supposed to be like the number 1 pick in next year's draft, right?
Did you see him play the other night?
No, I didn't.
He had like 7 threes. He's 7 foot, 7'5". It's ridiculous. Yeah. The guy's bringing the ball up the court.
Yeah, no, it would be an interesting interesting article. It would be a good idea. Unless you're saying you read one already. I did not see that, but it's
Ryan
a good
Black
idea.
on it.
He's
gone from the bar.
Yeah, hey, Ryan.
We need you on this quick.
We got an idea.
Kevin from Rochester Hills. Jason, if State is down 31-0 at half, do you watch the second half? If Thorne struggles early, will Mel go to Kim? And from JB Nimble, how many points is MSU behind until Noah Kim takes the field? 35.
What do you think it is? What do you think it looks like?
Yeah, I could see 31-0 making a change at quarterback. I mean, yes, I'll watch the second half because we talk about it all the time on the show, so I have to kind of watch the whole game, right? But I can understand if you're not, if you don't have to do a podcast, why you wouldn't watch the second half.
No, and I think it'll be a lot of the offense. Like if the offense is doing okay, even if they're down big points, I think they won't mess with things. Although, you do want. If you're not out of a game, you want to. It's not necessarily benching Peyton Thorne. I mean, the ideal situation for Michigan State, even if they're losing by enough points, is that Thorne's played okay, and that's not your concern. But you're not going to win the game, so now you want Noah Kim to get some reps. That if short of actually getting to win, I don't know what the number would be. And I think if the offense really struggled. I do not think Mel Tucker would hesitate, and that staff would hesitate to look at Noah Kim.
JD next. Why should I be excited for the 4-star recruits coming in the 2023 class when most of former 4-stars we've brought in from the portal are really struggling?
Because they're not portal kids. Because you're choosing a development. Because the kids in the portal may have been 4-stars, but they're in the portal because not because of their stars, but because they didn't live up to a billing, or they didn't develop, or they lost there's something about them. So that it's just a different. You want to look. Not every 4-star is going to pan out. That Michigan State is living proof of that, and then they've had a lot of 2 and 3 stars that have done very, very well. But overall, if the more 4-stars you bring in, the more talent you bring in, the more likely you are to have a program with a pretty good talent base.
Kevin Pike next. Would it just be smart to sit Xavier Henderson for the rest of the year and bring him back with a medical red shirt next year? I
mean, that's an interesting conversation with him. And I here's a guy who thought he was leaving for the NFL. So I think it's sort of mentally for him too. Can you get your head around doing 2 more years? You know, when you thought you were leaving someplace, and is that what you want? And I mean, I think Xavier Henderson, they're not going to get so much better next year that he's not going to be helpful to the program. I think if they could get Xavier Henderson for another year,
yeah, the job would be his. It's just up to him, right?
Yeah,
whether he wants to do that. But will he be able to shine on this defense if he has NFL aspirations? I think it would be smarter for him to sit out, right?
It may be, unless you come back and things are better real quick. And because think about that, if you're able to tell scouts come to practices, Tucker's is real open to them. If he's able to say, hey, this kid comes back in,
right,
and and sometimes in NFL, I mean, look at what Kari Willis was before he retired, and I mean, that's yeah.
Andrew Gauthier next. Can this Spartan team have a decent enough game this Saturday to make me regret working through it instead of watching it?
I don't think so. I think you made the right choice. Andrew and Monica, Groovy Donuts has an event, I believe, in the Battle Creek area this week. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
You're making donuts. You're doing God's work.
Yeah. But if you are tailgating this week or any week, or just going to be home and looking to commiserate and take solace in whatever you can, let Groovy Donuts help you. They've got tailgate donuts. They've got Halloween donuts on their way. They've got all sorts of stuff. Go to groovydonuts.com, place your special order, or just swing by either Groovy Donut location. That's Thursday through Sunday. They're open 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. They're on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing. They're also in Williamston. And if you want a specialty donut, like if you want a Scotty Hazleton bearded donut,
boo.
Caw. Andrew and Monica will make it for you. So go to groovydonuts.com. I mean, Zion was a big deal because he was a huge guy, and I just broke my chair.
Next one from the GOAT. How loud will Spartan Stadium get if they manage to get Ohio State to go 3-0 in the first series? I mean, this guy will be going nuts. He got it!
Yeah.
I don't know.
It'll be interesting. I don't know what the stadium's going to look like in terms of,
like a horseshoe?
Yeah, I don't. That's a good question. I think there will be a relief, a buzz for a minute, some hope. I don't know how long it lasts, but I think that would be a really big deal. And the other thing that would be, the defense right now feels better about itself than it has in a little while because of the second half it played at Maryland. So if it starts decently, I think that would be important.
Next one from Andrew. Are we going to be doing the crow noise a lot this weekend? That was my go-to move every time the Spartans or Lions gave up a horrible play last weekend. Actually made me feel a little better about things.
Caw. I would
Monica's happy about that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Andrew walking around cawing.
How many people are just annoying the hell out of their significant other? Shit. We started something.
You did. Next one from Andrew. We know you can't stand Jared Goff, Jason, but isn't the Lions' defense a substantially larger concern? Not saying he's a great quarterback, just saying he's been okay and the defense has been awful. Yeah, and that's what makes me hate this Lions team and Jared Goff. Listen, I know Jared Goff is putting up numbers, but you watch the guy play and do you feel confident? Graham, do you feel confident in Jared Goff winning a game for you?
No.
He's going to put stats up,
Yeah.
and I don't mind if he's a stopgap. My only concern is, are they going to sign him to an extension, or is he in the long-term plans? Are we going to draft a quarterback this next draft? That's the thing. I mean, yeah, Goff has been putting up decent numbers, but they're not winning, so who gives a shit?
It's either a wink-wink or maybe you say to Brad Holmes, hey, call for us if you understand that Jared Goff is not
You might as well
the
just tell
long-term
someone.
quarterback. Yeah, just make sure. Just make sure you understand that we, because the second we understand, you understand, then we can all root for it, right? Because then everybody's comfortable. It's like, okay, they understand it. Let's hope to get the most out of him while you have him. And I'm even cool with him, like, being around next year because he's under contract next year. It just gets cheaper to cut him. I want them to go get the guy this year, I think.
Can we really blame Aaron Glenn, though?
I don't, yeah.
I know there's a question coming up. I just saw it, but whatever.
Yeah.
We can go. We'll get to it. Andrew, this one. What's a realistic view of how deep a run the U.S. men's national team can make this year at the World Cup, aside from a total Cinderella story situation?
I always have to edit these because when I leave it USMNT, I know Jason has no idea what that is. They have not looked good in the. But I do think I do kind of think there will be a different energy, obviously, when they start the World Cup, and they've got a 50-50 shot probably of getting out of the group. And beyond that, maybe they get a decent matchup. I would think the quarterfinal would be sort of the absolute ceiling for this group, and that would take a good run and some luck.
Next one from Steve. MSU basketball record at the end of November will be...
Boy, okay, give me some Hoff real quick.
Off.
I can't stop this feeling deep inside.
All right, so you got Northern Arizona, the win, 1-0. Gonzaga, I mean, you're on a boat, so things could go weird, but probably a loss, 1-1. Kentucky, I think a loss, 1-2. Nova is interesting. That's a game Nova's lost some guys, new coach, like home game. You got to win that game. So 2-2. Alabama will be interesting. Let's say they lose that. Maybe you go 2-1 there. So in Portland, so you're 4-3, and then Notre Dame 5-3. I think actually somewhere something goes wrong. Give me 4-4 for Michigan State at the end of November.
The Uper. Whose seat is hotter, Hazleton or Aaron Glenn?
It sounds like Aaron Glenn just because of the way Dan Campbell talks. He's like, I'm going to look at the coaching, whatever. I mean,
but what I was about to say about Aaron Glenn is, should we blame him though? Azzaloni and Rodriguez are his linebackers. I mean, should we give him some time with the injuries as well? I mean, Okuda is playing really well. Listen, if they want to get rid of him or move on, I wouldn't have an issue.
So why is Hazleton so different?
What do you mean?
Than Glenn?
I don't know.
Okay.
What do you mean?
Well,
coaches the Lions defense. I mean,
no. What I mean is you're questioning whether it's.
But
right
a lot of the guys Hazleton has, it just seems like they're out of place. There's receivers like in the Maryland game where there was someone 10 yards, 15 yards near him. I haven't dissected. I mean, what's been happening to the Lions defense? It looks so bad. But
the Lions didn't force a single punt.
You say it, Azzaloni and Rodriguez, who I love, by the way. I think he's going to be great, but he just wasn't handed a good deck.
I think Glenn and Hazleton should switch places the rest of the year.
Why not? It can't be any worse. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, see if they get a better response with a different defense.
The Uper. Why do coaches insist on calling their defensive system and tactics a scheme? If you're running a scheme, I think you're selling essential oils or calling about my car warranty. Doesn't inspire confidence.
Never really thought about it that way, but it's a good point. Thank you to Uper.
Pyramid scheme. Professor, does Bailey Zappy have more passing yards against the Lions this week than he did against MSU last year?
No, but because he had like 430 or 60 or something against MSU last year, I think. Maybe it was 380. But
dude, if Zappy drops 500, I'm done for the year.
Yeah, no, he's a rookie. You got to make a rookie process some stuff and think.
Dude, he was throwing balloons last week.
Do you like the Lions +3 at New England?
Never.
Right.
No, not against Belichick, the GOAT.
That's the problem. It's Belichick. The one thing is, though, he's sitting there with the Lions' former head coach.
Doesn't matter. You can't bet against Belichick.
No.
I just can't do it.
And betting on the Lions and against Belichick's the double whammy.
Jarrett next. What coach would you take right now between Jimbo and Mel Tucker? Iowa's current OC or Dave Warner?
So you could have Jimbo Fisher or Mel Tucker. Who do you want?
I got to say, that's a great question.
It is, Jarrett. It probably should have been the Cosmic Fries question of the day.
I got to say, I think I'd go Jimbo just with the recruiting factor. He can get those guys to a program. I haven't really seen it from Mel Tucker yet, so I'd have to go Jimbo. And obviously, Dave Warner.
Yeah, over Ferenz's kid. Yeah. So Jesus. I would want I would go Mel Tucker for this argument only. I think, and I know Jimbo is been to a national championship and all that, so he's been where Mel Tucker wants to go. And they're still young and they're recruiting to an extent at Texas A&M. But I feel like Jimbo's kind of been maximized. And for what you're paying for, that's not what you want. And Mel Tucker hasn't yet earned what he's being paid for either, but we haven't at least seen it yet. So Mel Tucker's ceiling may be lower than Jimbo, but there's a chance that the Mel Tucker at Michigan State iteration is better than Jimbo at Texas A&M. I don't know. That would be my argument for Mel Tucker, but I would have to think about it more. I also can't stand Jimbo Fisher's face or voice, so those two things would make it Mel Tucker.
So now we know the truth.
Yeah, and yeah, definitely Dave Warner.
Gavork next. Your opinion. Will there always be concessions at Breslin this year? I asked my son if he wanted to go to a game this year and immediately asked if he could have food there.
I like your son. He's like me.
Just curious if you had heard anything about what will happen when COVID cases eventually rise.
Yeah, I mean, there could always be changes, but right now I think things are pretty open up. I don't think that, there's no mask policy. I think you're going to have like a full. They're hoping for normalcy. They're planning to open the year with concessions. They're hoping, from what I understand, maybe even have locker rooms open for interviews and things like that. Like, really, which would be great for storytelling. And I don't know if I was supposed to share that or not. May need to fix that in post. But there are.
I won't get out of here till 2 a.m.
Yeah, all the post fixing. Yeah, I think, and I don't know, when things rise, things could obviously change, and they could wind up in a situation like last year. I hope that's not the case again, and I know that the winter months are always going to be different now, but I think they would like to not do that. It's not good for them. It's not good for business. It's a shitty situation, and so I don't know what things will happen if the cases change, but right now the plan is full go.
Jay Riemenschneider, who says this is your Hopcat question of the day. How do you detach from fandom? You're supposed to be a pro and not have feelings, but you grew up a fan. Now you're supposed to cover the team, and in your case, only care about your bets. How do you do it, and how true is it that you are no longer a fan?
Well, yeah, no, I'll just give you I think you have to, it either happens or it doesn't, right? You don't, detaching yourself from something is difficult if it's not true. And this is why I struggle with the whole idea that Americans are English soccer fans. Like, I struggle to get that, to believe it's their feelings toward Tottenham or whoever are true. Like, how did that evolve when you were 30 years old? I don't get that. But for me, it just is what it is. Like, I absolutely grew up a fan. I mean, I can tell you right now, when I was unhappy in the 1995 NCAA tournament when Michigan State lost to Weber State. Not happy at all. Was pissed off about a couple. Was joyous when Michigan State beat Michigan in 1995 on November 4th of 95 with Tony Banks to Nigeria Carter. All that. Mid-teenage Graham, total fan. And I don't think I could do this job if I was. And I think what happens is, especially if you're in this business and you go away for a while and you cover something else that takes you – like, I missed Michigan State football games I didn't watch any hardly for 7 years.
Why?
Because I was covering other things on Saturdays.
Oh. Either
other games or preps or whatever.
You didn't check in and see what happened.
Well, I knew what happened, but at a certain point you just stop being as invested. And so that it happens and you're more and more detached. And so it allows you to – I don't think you could cover this if you were emotionally attached. And the other thing is you get so close to it in terms of you see too much and you get to know people. They say never meet your heroes. And I'm not saying it's like that exactly, but it's you know people on a different level. You learn how to be a professional at this stuff. But the other thing is you start to root for yourself. You start to enjoy the storylines of a 4-8, 3-9 season. You start to a great example. And
Christ, is this a TED Talk? What's happening here?
Yeah, sorry. Best example ever. And this is when you know you truly don't have fandom in you. Although I knew it before it, but I'm just saying this is a good example. Michigan State's playing Ohio State. Big Ten Championship game 2013. I've got 2 columns going. This is before I started doing the quick takes, but I've got a nasty print deadline. I'm going to have like 20 minutes tops after the game. And I've got 2 columns going as the game's unfolding. And one if they win, one if they lose. And I realize in the middle of the third quarter that my if they lose column is substantially better than the if they win column. And at this point, I'm not thinking about all the storylines at the Rose Bowl, that trip. I think they would have gone to the Rose Bowl anyway. But I'm not thinking about any of the historical stuff. I'm thinking about me that night, my deadline, my best column, and I was rooting for the Buckeyes for the rest of that game. I was rooting for the Buckeyes until I had to pivot, and then you deal with it. So I happened at Penn State when Felton Davis caught that pass a couple years ago from Lewerke. My quick takes were entirely written the other way. I thought there was no way MSU was going to win that game, and I thought I was fucked. I mean, there was like a moment where I looked around at my computer. I've got coffee here. I've got donut crumbs everywhere, and I'm thinking, can I leave the business? What do I do? I'm just screwed. And you figure it out because you've been doing this a while, and you write something quickly. But I was absolutely upset Michigan State won that game in that moment because it's about your work in that moment, and you enjoy the storytelling. I enjoy the job. I don't root against Michigan State mostly unless it's for deadline. I like some of the people that I cover. I like to see people do well. I was a big Cassius Winston fan. Great guy. Loved dealing with him. Like to see him do well. But the fandom just, people can believe it or not, but it's just not there.
So you were a fan of Cassius?
Well, I'm a fan of people individually. Like, you get to know people. You get to know some people are jerks. I learned in locker rooms a long time ago that, like, if you're 6'11" and you're only in college basketball or the NBA because your parents' genetics, fuck you. Like, to me, like, you're not better. If you're not better than me, if you're only better than me because you're 6'11", you better treat me like gold.
There is a drinking game within this show. Someone could put it together, like what Graham will bring up.
Yeah.
Because you always play the classics.
Yeah, sorry. That is a story we're telling, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company,
that
402
was a TED
South
Talk
Washington
we're
Avenue.
telling.
Yeah.
All right, Jay Riemenschneider with this one. Do you think MSU fans would rather split the difference between these 2 years and go 8-4 this and last year, and by doing so, giving away the euphoria of 11-2 last year?
That's a good question. If they'd never known 11-2, then 8-4 would have felt good last year, and so 8-4 would feel better this year. So the answer should be yes.
Next one from Jay. How much does MSU, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Texas, and Notre Dame all sucking take away from what would have been a great amount of anticipation for October 8th football? Before the season, everyone was looking forward to Bama versus A&M, Ohio State versus MSU, Red River rivalry, but now...
Yeah, it was a week that looked amazing. I remember thinking when Jimbo and Saban were having the spat, I was like, oh, that's October 8th too. So it's kind of lost its zing.
Last one from Jay. Why can't or won't you reveal which one of your shows has the most downloads?
Well, because it varies. It varies by the time of year. It varies by the show. I'll say this, that there are...
What show do you want to know about, I guess?
Yeah, our Sunday night show after a huge game that is either angered people or excited people. So certain times of the year, the Sunday night show is most. But there are weeks that the Twitter questions do extremely well. Same for the midweek show, and so it varies.
It's more than 100, which I never thought would ever happen in my life. So
yeah, it's
I'm
a
happy.
lot more than 100.
I know. I'm just saying. Fart soup.
Now I feel like I have to reveal it because people are going to think, oh, it's there's like 102 people listening. It's just the people doing Twitter questions.
Sorry, I didn't mean to drop that number. I was just saying.
Yeah. It's
when
like
we started this
thing,
it's like 100 people would listen to what we're saying.
It's like hundreds of times. Whatever. Yeah.
All right, we get it. Fart soup. Ryan Black seems to be pumping out the MSU football content. Is he trying to make Graham look bad? Drama.
He's doing a great job this week, but I'll
put him to work, man.
Well, I'll be honest. So 3 weeks ago, when we find out he's leaving, first thing I said to my boss was, I'm going to step back for about 3 weeks and let this guy hustle. And he's willing to. He's been great. Like, most guys don't finish strong when they're moving out.
And you wonder why you can't keep anybody.
Yeah, well, no, but for me,
if someone was about to take the job and they listened to this show, I'd be like,
No, here's why. Because I've been through this seemingly every year. I know what the next 2 months are like as soon as we're down Ryan. We don't have Phil Friend in the same role anymore. Like, my job gets not worse, but it gets different, and I'm okay with that. And there's just more on my plate, and I'm excited to do it, and we'll still deliver great MSU football content.
Bring back Phil Friend.
Well, he's just in a different role in the company. We still use him for the Spartan speaking of the things. But anyway, point being,
because he knows how to run the equipment.
I know, yeah, basically. I know the next couple months are going to be a lot. So for 3 weeks, I don't want to say I did the minimum, but I just did a little less.
Fart soup. Battle Royale. Who drops first and who is the last man standing? Couch, Rexroad, Solari, Fred Human, and Hondo. I think Fred Human and Hondo would take each other out.
Yeah.
Go over that, not the top rope, but the bottom rope.
The real thing is the speed and quickness, I worry about Fred and Hondo getting around a little bit.
Solari would just eat your kneecap off.
Solari wins.
Campbell.
Solari does something.
Rexroad would try to calm everybody down. Rexroad and Couch would be like, all right, let's just not, come on, guys. Let's just have fun.
Solari wins.
Yes, Solari. Fart soup. What if Skymint made a Groovy Donuts donut-flavored joint?
life would be perfect.
My head would explode.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's a good question.
You know, sometimes those chocolates, I do love the chocolates, but we tried another chocolate bar, like this. It's called Tevia. Holy shit, does it taste good? Edibles. I'm sorry, Skyman, but edibles should not taste that good. Because you're like,
Tevia.
I would like another.
I'm gonna write that down.
Another piece. Jordan Bunt, what's your favorite Michigan State, Ohio State football memory?
Well, certainly not the Big Ten championship game in 2013. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I'll go back to my days as a fan. Then it was
2 years ago.
Yeah, last week. It was probably the first year that we had season tickets, and even though they lost like 41-14 or something, I could be wrong on that score. It's just the fact that we were at games like that, it's pouring rain. Just whatever. It was just like you're here there with your dad. You're watching games. Michigan State, Ohio State. Those are the type of games we never used to get tickets to when I was younger. So it's probably something like that. But outside of football, I guess my favorites are in basketball. Like the Big Ten tournament championship game in 2012. After the game with Draymond and the game where Brandon Dawson tore up his knee. The game a few games later in Chicago or Indianapolis, wherever it was one of the best Big Ten games I've ever seen, and still to this day.
All right, South of Munn next. There's been a lot of talk that Tucker was hired due to the fear of regret. The real regret is not hiring Urban Meyer after the Bobby Williams disaster. Meyer publicly wanted the MSU job, and Ron Mason, with all his hockey knowledge, hired John L. Smith instead. MSU could have employed the two best college football coaches in history. Do you agree that Saban and Meyer are the two best ever? If not, don't say Bear Bryant.
Do you think Saban and Meyer are the best two ever?
In my lifetime.
Yeah. I mean,
the
thing about Meyer is,
names.
Yeah, no, I agree, because Meyer, even though he's become a 4-star douche here in his later years, but
you can't take away what he did in college football.
No, and he didn't just. I mean, he did it everywhere. He was unbelievable at Bowling Green, then at Utah, then at Florida, and then at Ohio State. So, and he changed to Ohio State So absolutely, and Saban. So yeah, no, I mean,
Saban is no doubt the best coach of all time. Roberts, what are the odds we get another donut eating challenge from Graham? Disappointed MSU fans are going to need some entertainment to get them through the basketball season, or till basketball season.
Yeah, my doctor does not want me to do that, but
it takes a doctor to tell you.
Hey, man,
you're going to swallow donuts whole, and you have to need a doctor to tell you to pump the brakes.
I canceled the doctor appointment today because I hadn't lost the weight yet. I'm like, what the fuck's the point? Like, I'm not going to go. Well, give me for 3 more months. I'll push it back. Say I got to work. But it doesn't mean I don't love any groom. I would have to be a different kind of donut challenge. Like, I would love to do a donut taste test where I tasted 12 different kind of groovy donuts but didn't eat them all.
Wait, you have a doctor's appointment just to go get weighed?
Well, no, they're checking, they like to check my numbers, make sure I'm doing well. I'm in my 40s now, And
how long in between doctor's visits?
It's been like 5-6 months. I was supposed to lose some weight and I didn't, so they can wait until I actually I told them I was going to lose weight. And so like, oh yeah, we'll see you in 6 months. And I didn't. So they can wait.
Robert, next. What are the odds?
We got that one.
Oh shit. 2-6 baby AKA. Where do I send my deposit for the Rube cruise?
Patreon.com/couch in the Rube.
Yeah, where are we going?
Yeah, we get enough there. We will get this Rube cruise going, and we'll do it from.
No, don't listen to Graham because he'll have us outside a fucking parking lot. I'll be telling jail stories.
No,
no.
We do an actual Rube cruise. It'd be amazing.
Jason, tell your jail stories. Get up there. Matt Venny next. Have you ever had a player on a team you root for that you hated? Like every time they got in the game, it pissed you off. I normally don't go after college players, but every 2 to 3 years, there's a guy at MSU that raises my blood pressure every time I see him on the field.
Going back to my childhood, Steve Polanowski, basketball player. I did not understand early Izzo years, like maybe the first Izzo year. I was like 15, 16. I was like, I don't know why they play this guy. And
can we have Polanowski on the show?
Yeah, we should. In fact, I think I spoke to him once and told him that for a story.
How would you not remember that?
Because I've done a lot of those sort of look back,
retrospective
retrospective
like some story
things.
From 5th grade. The exact streets and all this shit.
No.
You don't remember talking to a dude and telling him that he was ass?
Yeah. I wasn't drinking yet in 5th grade. No, I'm kidding. I was not drinking during my interviews. Yeah. Anybody on your own team that you've hated?
I mean, the whole team, the Lions at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember any certain player.
I
try to love every single player for a team I'm rooting for.
Andre Drummond, never a fan.
Oh, there you go. Wisniewski next. Why is Fox's Big Noon Kickoff not called Good Afternoon, Walmart shoppers?
A lot of Michigan on the Big Noon Kickoff, but yeah, well done, Kurt.
I like it. Wisniewski, where's the Solari Couch Groovy Donut?
I don't even know what that would be. I mean, it would have to be something with red velvet, maybe, and
2 donuts connected.
I do like a plain donut this time of year, though, with some cider. No, 2 donuts connected.
Does it have to be plain? It's still good. Kurt Wisniewski, why did we really believe the Lions would be better this year?
Well, they're different this year.
Because we're stupid. But that's why, Kurt.
They're different, though.
What else am I going to do? I have to be excited because of Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
That's why. Because we want to believe. Michael Garnett next. What will it take for Aaron Glenn to be fired? The Lions' defense is on pace to be the worst in the league history and is wasting, arguably, our greatest offense ever. Jeez. I also shudder at the thought of losing a not-so-close game to Matt Patricia and his moo-moo.
Yeah, I think it's actually important for Dan Campbell not to fire Aaron Glenn. Just as it may be, people think it's important for Mel Tucker to fire one of his coaches or something like that. No, and I'm going to explain why.
But he did get rid of who, Graham? Tucker?
Ron Burton.
Oh.
But so, hear me out on this. Like, Dan Campbell seems a little bit more of a loose cannon, and I think, like, if you want to continue to get good coaches, you can't just fire people after, like, one horrible day. And I'm a believer that Dan Campbell would be.
There's
best.
Horrible days, and there's giving up fucking 500 yards to Geno Smith.
It was bad.
Different.
And if it keeps happening without adjustments, fine. But I'm just, Dan Campbell would be wise to like make it through a year without firing a coordinator. That would be because these are the guys you hire. So here's the other problem: if both years he fired the offensive coordinator last year, the defense coordinator this year, if every year in the middle of the year you're firing a coordinator, then your ability to judge who ought to be running your offense and defense isn't very good. If I'm Dan Campbell, I'm sticking with my guy a little bit here.
Yeah, but if you watch what guys do before you hire them and they get in to your defense and they don't do anything that you've been shown, it's not your fault, I don't think. If you've been given a sample size of a guy and what he can do and you bring him in and go, oh, okay, and then he comes in, he's an absolute abortion, it's not hard to get rid of guys. This is $1 million billion business. Michael Garnett. $1 billion. It's a lot of zeros. If we give up 600 yards of offense and gain less than 200 yards, how likely and soon will staff changes be made? It might not immediately solve anything, but it would buy Tucker more time and show his recruits, fans, and donors he's taken needed steps to build MSU into a big boy program.
He doesn't need to buy time. Like, he's got time, and he's got time with the people that matter. And so, not just the biggest donors, but the donors, the administration, like, people want him to succeed. And so it is, I think that while I don't know Tucker well enough to know what he's thinking in terms of a horrible day against Ohio State, although I'd like to think what happens to Ohio State wouldn't be your determining factor. But if you give up 600 yards passing to Wisconsin, for example, yeah, you got an issue there. And so at some point he may make a decision one way or another, or things will just get better. But I would not rush to any judgment this week. And I probably won't, even if it seems embarrassing in my column, because this was never the game they were supposed to be measured against this year. We've talked about this. There are the two tracks. There is the track that's right now and how they're playing in this year, and there's the recruiting track and the building for the future. You hired Mel Tucker. To get you to the Ohio State place eventually. That's the dream. You hired him to recruit to that level. And so far, there's been improvements in recruiting pretty drastically from where Michigan State has been most of the time. We'll see where it actually pans out and whether he does it. But as long as what's happening in the short term, in the near term, and this other track doesn't mess with that second track in the recruiting, then it doesn't matter what's happening now. It really doesn't. If he signs 15 four-star kids and they go 2-10 this year and all those kids stick in the recruiting class, so be it. that's the thing. That ultimately, the reason he was hired, the reason you paid him, was the dream of something more. So as long as that something more is still happening, then
is there any score that will happen on Saturday that would change your mind? 70-7. You're still like, oh, all right.
If they hit triple digits.
Okay. Mike Scott, I have a hard time believing our talent on defense is that much worse than schools like Minnesota, Purdue, and Illinois. Is our talent really that deficient, or is that a convenient excuse for poor schemes and coaching?
No, I do think that some of it is matchups. And we'll see them play Illinois, and I'm very curious to see that game because you're right. Illinois is a great example of a program that's defense looks pretty good that shouldn't be that far ahead. Now, sometimes you don't know exactly what was recruited before the previous coach got there with the Lovie Smith regime and all that stuff, but Michigan State's defense is bad, and they're facing good quarterbacks. But there's no doubt that MSU's defense is worse than it should be, and there's no doubt that it shouldn't ever look like it did against Minnesota, and not like parts of Maryland. But the Minnesota game is the troubling game here. I mean, yeah, you don't want to be losing to Maryland, but they've got a good quarterback, a good team. It's a road game. Things went badly. Washington. Things go poorly on the road. The Minnesota game, you're just not competitive. I mean, you didn't force a punt, and you were shut out till the very, very end when it was garbage. So garbage time, rather. So yeah, no, it's. I don't think it should be that much worse. I don't think the talent's probably more seasoned at those places. Minnesota's done a really good job of developing kids. I'll say that on defense.
Tyler Simmons next. How many current starters on the Michigan State defense were recruited by D'Antonio? Do you think Tucker would bring D'Antonio on as a special assistant to help coach the defense? Graham, have you reached out to D'Antonio to do a sit-down interview?
I did one last year, and I probably won't do one this year. But I did one in November of last year. So
retweet it.
Yeah. But that one was all positive. It was like him being.
Oh, then never mind.
Yeah, it was how it had softened the. I can't remember the exact deal. Hold on, let me pull up give me some off.
Yeah, read it. Let's just read the whole thing.
Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me.
Oh yeah, here it is. As Mel Tucker wins, the appreciation for Mark D'Antonio is rekindled, and he can feel it. You want me to read the beginning of this like story time?
No.
Okay.
Jesus.
There is a powerful video of Mark D'Antonio on the field Saturday at Spartan Stadium at the end of Michigan State. Wait, is there a typo in the lead? Fuck this. We're not looking at this.
All right. Tyler Simmons. Or no, Molan Lobby, sorry. Who is betting MSU to cover the spread? How is it only 27 points? How big would the spread have to get for you to take MSU? We said it, 40 plus. 38, 39.5, 40, whatever.
Yeah, and I would tell people this is a pretty good play to bet against MSU. But I've also said that other times when they haven't covered. That's why I think that's where my skittishness comes. I think I would, in 2016, told people for sure to take Michigan with a similar spread to beat Michigan State, and that wound up being a competitive game. I thought Michigan State was going to get just rocked in 2015 down there, but that was a better Michigan State team. So I feel pretty decent about this one.
Next one from Molan Lobby. Over under 2 quarters before there's more Ohio State fans than MSU in the stands.
Give me over 2 quarters. It's after halftime.
Molan Lobby. Matty Sissoko, higher game average, points or fouls?
I think it's going to be points, and I'll say why. Because, and this is just looking at foul numbers all the time. Sometimes it feels like a guy fouls out every single game, and you look at his average fouls, and it's still like 2.7 or 3.2. It's lower than you think. And I think his average fouls will be 3.1, average points 3.2.
All right.
Yeah.
Where are we at here?
Ghost of George Burles.
Ghost of George Burles. Gut check. Who will have a better defense this weekend, the Spartans or the Lions? Mind you, neither have a linebacker that's close to Carl Banks.
I would rather be the Lions defense facing a rookie quarterback and the Patriots offense relative to my talent than Michigan State. So I think the Lions will have the better defense.
Ghost of George Perlis. Which team will have the best offense performance this weekend? Navy, Atlanta Falcons, Michigan State, or the Chicago Bears?
I don't even know who's Navy's playing.
I would say that Atlanta.
Yeah, probably
Chicago's playing Minnesota at Minnesota.
Atlanta's, where's Atlanta? There's someplace. They're playing somebody good, though. Hold on. Let me look real quick. Hold on. Caw. Instead of boo, caw. No. Atlanta Falcons play the Buccaneers. Oh, I don't know, actually. Give me Michigan State. Michigan State with the best offensive performance of the weekend. We're going to take a really quick break here. We'll come back with more of your Groovy Donut Twitter questions. Couch in the Rube, presented by Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook and Skymint Premium Cannabis.
Casino and Sportsbook is the site to play. Get your Vegas on right now from your phone, tablet, or laptop. All the hottest slots and tables, plus sports betting featuring in-game wagering. Download the app at firekeeperscasino.com. Go with the name you know. Firekeepers. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Hopcat exists at the intersection of great beer and delicious food, complemented by music, art, community, and comfort. Home to a best-in-class beer experience served by craft beer experts. Guests can expect a casual, inviting local gathering place with some of the best damn burgers and fries you'll find in Michigan. Hopcat is proud to be an official sponsor of Peyton Thorne. Show your Spartan pride by ordering the iconic Peyton Thorne burger, created by the man himself. There is no better place to watch any Michigan State game other than the 50-yard line at Spartan Stadium. Stop by any of our locations: East Lansing, Detroit, Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, Kalamazoo, and Holland. To plan your next trip to Hopcat, visit hopcat.com. Wherever you are on your cannabis journey, let Skymint Premium Cannabis be your guide, your friend, and your place. Whether you're curious about cannabis or a seasoned connoisseur, Skymint's knowledgeable staff will help you with a vast selection of products to choose from to fit your needs. Skymint believes access to the best cannabis helps people do good and feel good, so they grow it right here in Michigan, giving you high-quality, locally grown cannabis at highly accessible prices. Visit skymint.com for special offers and location information throughout Michigan, and use the promo code CouchAndRube20 for 20% off your first visit. Skymint Cannabis. You'll love this place. Come enjoy irresistible, award-winning, handcrafted donuts and locally roasted coffee at Groovy Donuts. Surprise your family or coworkers with special holiday designs and flavors, or put the perfect finishing touch on an event with a custom order. Birthdays, weddings, gender reveals, our friends at Groovy Donuts are your answer. Experience the Groovy Donuts difference for yourself on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing or in Williamston. Get more information or place an order at groovydonuts.com.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Couch in the Rube, presented by our friends at Skymint Premium Cannabis, which, after hearing this latest news from Dominic, I'm going to be on Skymint a little bit. And also our Thursday night show brought to you by our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Dominic sent me a tweet right now. Better put $100 on no touchdown to be scored in the Broncos-Colts game. $100. Mm-hmm. Paid a little over $10,000. It's 6-6 late in the third quarter.
Wow.
And that's a great game to do it, right? Two, struggling offenses, at least one good defense. Like, that's an ideal game. I can't believe I didn't think of it.
The Colts beat the Chiefs. I mean, no touchdown for $100.
It's Colts Broncos.
No, I understand, but when the Colts play the Chiefs, they beat the Chiefs, so they can. I mean, I know Denver's offense is ass.
I'm just saying,
I know what you're saying, but that's what I was saying.
$10 would have paid $1,000, but worth 10. Now I'm rooting against this better because I'm full of regret, and I will be popping edibles shortly if this goes the other way.
I thought it was some really bad news or something. Nick Palmer, how would you describe how MSU uses their running back depth?
Like everybody else, it's just hard to use depth. You can only use 2 running backs at a time in a game. However, you can change that depth if you realize a guy like Elijah Collins should be seeing major carries. And Elijah Collins ought to see 10 carries against Ohio State. No question about it.
Nick Palmer, does Izzo know he calls the Champions Classic the wrong name?
I don't think so.
Cockburn.
He calls it the Tournament of Champions every single time.
A lot.
And also, nothing is ever the elephant in the room. It's the white elephant in the room. He gets the white elephant gift.
When you're a
confused with
Hall
the
of
elephant in
Fame
the room.
legend, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Nick Palmer. So let's say Hazleton is fired at year's end. Who would you like to see replace him?
I don't know. I don't have a good sense of who what I think that I would do, however, if I were Mel Tucker, is I would look around at coordinators who you've had trouble against or the top guys at lower levels. Those guys, you talk about guys that can do more with less and deal with all sorts of situations. You look at a guy who's having success coordinating a defense. Now, and I know you need guys who can recruit too, but the coordinator, it's more important than actually coordinating a defense. Look at guys who are doing it in the Sun Belt, in the MAC, in the WAC. Places, and I understand Hazleton, was at Wyoming at one point, but look at guys who are doing it with less, who are doing it with guys who are transferring out, who are doing it without depth. And those are places that, you can find good defensive minds who are having success.
Couch on fire next. Any truth to the rumor that Draymond Green, that is, said, "I've got your little brother," right before slugging Poole?
So have you seen this story?
Oh, boy, did I.
And apparently Jordan Poole was like constantly bragging about his actual pool that he was going to put in, and apparently the teammates have gotten tired of it, but Green just slugged him.
No way.
I don't know. There's got to be more to it.
That is not the story.
It's got to be more to it. I don't know.
Jordan Poole is talking about how he has a pool, like an actual pool in his backyard.
Yeah, how when he gets paid, he's going to put a pool in and invite everybody. And I don't know.
Are you making this shit up?
No.
It doesn't sound like anything that would deserve a punch.
Actual reporting, right? It's bizarre. But I can also see Jordan Poole being annoying. Like he comes across, he's got kind of annoying. You can see how he's an annoying guy. I can see that.
Hey guys, wait till you see my pool. Like what?
I know it's weird. It's weird.
I don't believe this.
But apparently he does it all the time, and eventually Green was just fed up with it and punched him.
Is this a Woj bomb? Did he tweet this out or Shams?
No, I forget where it came from.
I don't believe this.
All right, we'll see where this story
goes. Is this
goes.
like a Sports Center account that has like one letter missing and you just fell for it?
Yeah, probably.
Dude, come on.
No, I think this is legit. I do.
Jordan Poole, whose last name is Poole, goes into the locker room and talks about his pool so much that Draymond Green had enough and he threw a punch.
Yeah, so let me find this. It'll come up. God, there are a lot of tweets because they've been addressing it all day.
Oh no, I heard them bad boys coming, can't stop now, gotta continue my running, yeah, cause we gonna party till the lights come on, and if my song stop, fuck it, cause my mic's still on. Yo, I'm the big booty type, I like them thick with their mind right, bang them personality, conversate when the time right, I'm not hard, I got women to handle that, they be like he the man when I'm really a Thundercat.
I'm struggling to find it, but yeah.
By the way, Chad Latz is doing a lot better. Going to be out of the hospital in 2 days. Get better, Chad.
That is good to hear. Here we go. So, The Athletic on the Warrior situation. According to sources, Poole began telling teammates of his plan to use his lucrative new extension to install a pool at his house. Am I falling for something? I hope not. Quote, I'll call it the Jordan Pool because it's going to be the GOAT, Poole allegedly said. Everyone can come swim in my Jordan Pool as soon as I get paid. Teammates soon tired of the joke. However, when he refused to stop telling it, when Green eventually suggested Poole find some new material, Poole said, if you keep talking like that, you won't be allowed in my Jordan Pool.
Do you know how easily you'd be punched?
Yeah. This can't
in that
be
locker
true.
room for telling the same shit?
This can't be
Did you just fall for that?
Probably.
Oh, my God.
I think I did. This must be fake.
Draymond Green was green with envy.
This must be fake.
Oh, my God.
I don't know. It doesn't seem...
That doesn't seem fake whatsoever.
It seems fake, but
he's calling it the Jordan Pool. That would be, first of all, a terrible bit. And Steph Curry would go, I have a pool in every one of my houses.
If I'm getting fooled here, will you take this out and post? Thank you.
Absolutely not. We're cutting this out and going to air it separate. Couch on fire. What does it take to get fired as a defensive coordinator in this state?
100 points. 100
Triple
points.
digits,
Triple,
Couch says.
triple digits. You missed one up above it, too.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry, guys. Couch on fire. Over under Elijah Collins rushing yards.
I'm going to go
50.
under. I'm going to go under.
Let me get the number out.
Sorry. Try that one more time.
You're 15 again. Over under Elijah Collins rushing yards. 50.
I'm going to go under.
Under.
Caw. That didn't really work there.
Of course it does. It works everywhere.
Do the Yoda. Yards rushing Elijah Collins over under? Nope. Under. Nope. Fuck.
Jason,
do you think that I'm going to go under?
All right. Shep up next. If I wanted a nice date night at a place with good food, good beer selection, lots of TVs, a place where I could keep an eye on the game without ignoring my date, and an overall cozy vibe. Bazooka to your head, would you recommend Cask & Company or Hopcat? No Graham Stouting this.
No Graham Stouting. I would both. I mean, I really think what you would do is you would begin your night at Cask & Company and head to Hopcat afterward.
But that is the epitome of Graham Stouting it.
That's true.
Yeah. Gavin Haas. So the Hopcat hot takes of the day is a sympathy award now, giving it to someone for being optimistic. Come on now. They were good takes, but I'm trying to prove a point.
Hey man, everything's on a curve here, and Matt C also had a really good take. I would not have done it just for it wasn't sympathy. It was reacting and I think improved attitude, but it was a really good take too. So that's why. Gavin Haas with this one. What's all the if you're going to move on from Thorne, then Kim has to be the guy to come in takes. Gaten Hauser's the future of the program, and I don't want any of the you can't know that for sure crap. Well, you can't know that for sure, though, Gavin. Here's the thing. I've said this before, and it's not that I have any information that Gaten Hauser won't be, and I think they're very high on Gaten Hauser. But they like Noah Kim. Nothing that Noah Kim's shown says that he doesn't deserve a chance. He's the number 2 quarterback now. And Michigan State's recent history is littered with dudes who were supposed to be the future and weren't. So, that goes all the way back to the late 90s. I mean, there have been more guys in MSU who are supposed to be the future and weren't than were supposed to be the future and were. Last one from Gavin. Graham, are you going to defend the Freep article that said the Lions would be better with Patricia's defense? I was shocked when I opened it and saw the writer wasn't the who we shall remain nameless. Who shall? So Windsor? I didn't actually read it, so I don't know. But is that really far-fetched, though? I mean, any defense right now would be better than what we're seeing, I guess. Yeah. Could Patricia do worse? I don't think so. Oh, I think Seidel wrote this, which isn't – Seidel every once in a while likes to needle people a little bit. Seidel? Yeah, a little Seidel. Jack Hakala next. Is Goff better because of the new system? Is there a new system? I thought – Goff was Kirk 2.0. Would you rather have Goff or Kirk Cousins? Kirk Cousins. Really? Yeah. I mean, they're the same kind of guy, but I feel like if you get the right weapons like, Cousins had, I don't know. I just feel more comfortable. Why? I mean, if you put a great defense across from those guys, I just don't think Goff could win you a game. I mean, look at Cousins and what he's done with when he was in like Washington. Did you like that game? I mean, he's done that somewhat. I know he hasn't been great in primetime lately, but I think he would, out of the two, it would make me feel more confident. Okay. Next one from Jack. October baseball predictions. Also, will y'all be jumping on the Astros bandwagon? We need some groovy, crack fry, Sky Mint Firekeeper story worth telling energy to win the ship. I'm not on the I agree, and I love the sponsor use, by the way, Jack Hakala. I also love Jack's last name. Like that I would not screw up. I cannot say Hopcat hot take, but I can say Hakala all night. Jack Hakala. It's impressive. Thank you. I like Astros cards. Yeah. I kind of like the pool hole storyline too. I'd like to see him play in a World Series, even though I resent the 2006 Cardinals to this day. Let it go. Yeah, so that would be my I'm with you on that. And I don't want to see the... Who in the AL then? Yankees? I mean, I don't want to see them either. I'd rather root for Verlander and the Astros, I guess. I don't know. Mariners I'd love, but I don't think they're going to get there. No. Mojo Jojo. Would MSU benefit more academically, athletically, if Michigan did not exist?
a la Ohio State in Ohio, or do they benefit from the in-state rivalry?
There are ways that they would benefit without Michigan. There are ways they would benefit with them. And I don't mean to Graham's out every single answer in the history of the world. But, I mean, there are, yeah, I mean, if you were the state university, and I understand they're Western, but if there was no Michigan, there would be tremendous benefits. But there must be benefits to having Michigan there too, I would guess. Right?
Yeah, I think so. Mojo Jojo, what's the best way to battle Zoom fatigue?
Don't do Zoom from home. Like, go to your back deck. Go to a coffee shop and annoy people by being on Zoom there. Just do.
But how does that help with Zoom fatigue, though?
If you're just on Zoom constantly, yeah.
Like, if you have an hour meeting, if you're allowed to break free, that's what I do. I try to just, like, hide. If there's, like, 15 people on the call, I'll just turn my camera off, kind of stretch, do some stuff, and then go back in and turn my camera on.
That's a good suggestion. The other thing you can do is you put, like, you get a little tripod over the top of your camera with your phone, and so it's just above your computer, and you put on a game or something that you can watch, so it looks like you're looking. If you have to have your camera on, you want it to look like you're looking at your camera, but you're really watching something else. Just don't make it porn, because that goes wrong for people.
Just like you do at Cask & Company. You don't watch porn, but you watch a game over someone's shoulder. Am I right?
That's the beauty of Cask & Company. It's the TV setup. You go there with your significant other. You have a date night. They think you're just there for them, and you are to some degree, but also there happens to be a game just over their shoulder as you keep nodding.
Mojo Jojo. Jason, what do you make of the Tigers crushing it the last couple of weeks? I don't know. I haven't watched, so good for them.
They finished well. The one I do think there's something to. They were really good after the GM hire, and I think there's a lot of people.
What does that have to do? What you think he came in and implemented something that fast? No. These guys were like, "Oh my god!" What inspiring speech did he give to these guys?
Nothing. I think it's human nature though to feel like you're playing for your job, and I think the other thing that happened is they ran into some teams that had kind of given up. Like they played the White Sox when the White Sox had kind of given up right after that bad series.
They beat the Mariners in a recent series, and the Mariners are a playoff team. I guess. I mean, it's not.
But the Mariners,
are we supposed to get enthusiastic about it, though?
The Mariners had just qualified for the postseason and weren't playing. You know what I mean? Like I
would give my left testicle to qualify for the playoffs as a Tigers fan. What do you mean? I don't care how you get in there. Sorry, was that a little crazy? Jordan Mack, my left testicle. Graham mentioned Jordan Mack. What? Oh, Graham mentioned that MSU fans shouldn't be that hard on MSU because these players aren't the players the program will build around, and that the incoming class is the first real class for Tucker, and that class will make a difference and what they should be judged on. With that being said, can he explain how MSU will be better with 8 4-star true freshmen next year, assuming nobody jumps ship when MSU finishes with 2 to 4 wins? He talks about this class like it's top 3, when in reality it's barely top 30.
I believe it is 10 4-stars right now. We'll see if it stays right there. And we'll see where it winds up. The bottom line is it won't be just barely top 30 if they're able to keep all because they haven't filled it out. The class, a lot of recruiting rankings, overall classes is also numbers of guys. So once it's filled out, if there are 10, 12, 15 4-stars in it, they'll be in the top 20, which I think is a really good class. And they won't be that much better next year. That is why I said to you, if you read the LSJ, that year 6 for him, because he was 2 classes behind, is really the first year that you can judge him on the level of competing against Ohio State. I think before that, it's fair to judge him on serious improvement. I think you got to show that you can do the most with the guys you have, and that's something we haven't seen. But I think it's a couple years before you can really judge. I don't know that next year will be all that much better than this year. I don't. They lose even more offensive linemen, and they got young guys that I don't know that are going to be ready. We'll see. I mean, I don't know that next year is better than this year.
Jordan Mack with this one. Can Graham please tell the story again about how Mel Tucker isn't blindly loyal because he fired his D-line coach? I feel like the 701st time will just hit differently.
Thank you, Jordan. Appreciate you.
Ron Quixotes. Late in the show, basketball question. At the end of November, what will the big storyline be for MSU basketball?
It'll be trying to reintegrate Jaden Akins at full go. Like he'll be full go in November, but it'll be like, okay, now he's starting. Now he's playing 30 minutes. Now that sort of thing. I think that's the one thing about the timing of his injury that's not great for MSU is I don't necessarily think it's an injury that'll linger any of that stuff, but you're going to sort of form who you are as a team in these big games. And I don't know that he'll be playing the minutes he'll be playing later. And I think that'll be the thing. The other thing that'll be, I think by the end of November, when they face a number of really good big men, we'll have a great feel for what they have there. And I'm very curious to see what we know by the end of November.
Andrew Zawisa next. If you tell Izzo about the man's ear, would that make him more or less motivated to win? What's worse than ass? Anus. This entire football season is anus.
Well done, Andrew. Yeah, no, there are certain days that if I told Izzo about the me wearing a man's ear, if they didn't make the tournament, he might promise not to make the tournament.
Don't coach my team.
Spartan 18770. Have either of you wanted to punch the other one, and why?
You don't really have a punchable face, so and I don't get frustrated with you that much. I don't know why. Yeah, I mean,
we've had disagreements, but I've never come close to.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just think that's next level, right?
I don't think if
throw a punch. I mean, unless you talked about your pool. Or believing a pool. Actually, check that, Spartan. I wanted to punch Graham after he fell for that story. Fucking Jordan Poole.
I do want an infinity pool in my backyard.
Goat of pools. I can't stand Jordan Poole talking about his pool.
I hope I haven't been fooled. I hope this is correct.
I hope it is too, for your sake.
Yeah, me too. No, if that was the place we went when we got frustrated or whatever, then this show wouldn't still be happening.
No. Next one from Spartan. What is the most either of you have spent at a gentleman's club? I'll let you go first.
It's a good question.
Wife's not listening.
I hope not.
Would she let you go to a gentleman? Like if you were like, hey, I'm going to go with the guys to Omar's. Would she care?
I think she'd be fine with it. I mean, I wouldn't get like a lap dance or something, but she'd be fine with me going to the club. I wouldn't do it regularly. There'd have to be like a really good reason. I
got to say, if I was Elizabeth, I would say, go ahead.
See what happens.
Yeah,
good luck.
Tape $100 bills near your crotch and see what happens.
Good luck, fat ass.
I know. As guys, we all go, yeah, I'm going tonight. Like you're going to get laid or something.
Yeah, see ya, pork butt. Good luck. I would say I've dropped 300 maybe.
Yeah.
Probably in that range. And I had a stretch in my 20s where I felt like I had disposable income and I would go and have a little drink in me. And
it was 1,000 Canadian. So what's that?
1,000 about right now.
Yeah. Well, we used to travel to Windsor at least once a month. And yeah. It was a New Year's thing, and there was Russian ladies, and I went up to the one Russian lady, and I was like, I didn't know they couldn't speak English, and I was like, this was when I was like 19. I was like, would you like to ring in the New Year with me? And she's like, I'm sorry, what? And I was like, never mind. And then I just went to some other lady and spent 1,000 Canadian.
Another story we're telling, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company, 402 South Washington Avenue, a place where your money is always well spent. Terrific menu, great beer selection.
Smooth. I've never been smooth once in my life. I don't know how Therese married me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what was your earliest interaction with Therese? Like, do you remember your first conversations?
Yeah, on Tinder.
But like when
are we gonna meet?
In real person,
this shit.
In real person, when you first start talking,
yeah.
What do you say to her initially that makes her like you? What were
You'd have to ask her that question. I have no idea.
I would.
This is back when it's old Boozer Rube. Who knows what was going on?
Therese, if you could get that in your weekend highlights for Sunday, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, you tell the Cody wedding story when she had to hold me up. So, Spartan with this one, guys, had a coworker who would only eat the cookie part of a Twix candy bar. What kind of weird eating habits do you have or seen? Why am I up tweeting at 11:30 when I have to be up at 6 o'clock for work? Caw, caw. Caw, caw.
Weird eating habits you have. What do you have?
I was about to say, this is going to take a while for you.
I know.
I don't think I mean, the only kind of weird eating habit I have is like I'll eat something for 2 months straight and then just drop it like a bad habit, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. It's really nothing crazy that I have.
Yeah, my eating habits aren't bizarre. I mean, naturally I don't have perfect eating habits or I wouldn't look like this, like an aardvark or an anteater or whatever the hell I look like. But upside down potato or whatever it is. But I
upside down potato.
Like last night,
that's me.
For example, had a really good food day, good decisions, all that stuff. But I do like chips and salsa late at night. And
chips and salsa.
So yeah, I mean, I had chips and salsa, but this is the type of stuff that happened. Like, and it made me regret it instantly. I was like, I haven't been eating after 7 p.m. Been doing well with that. I get this little I pour a little salsa in this jar, little jar,
giant jar.
And I'm going to grab the chips, and I hit my elbow on the cabinet.
Oh.
And the salsa flies everywhere, all over my pants, all over the backslash. I mean, I don't even know how it got everywhere. It did. Like, even this morning, my wife was finding bits of salsa on the backsplash of our kitchen because of my late night eating.
Well, why didn't you clean it up?
I thought I cleaned everything. My pants went in the washer immediately. I cleaned the rug. I cleaned everywhere I just didn't realize there was some more.
Now, the Twix candy bar, I'm confused here. So someone, takes like a knife or something and cuts off the chocolate part? What? Derek Spartan, what is my incentive to watch this MSU team play?
Well, I mean, I would say it's this. You get 12 of these games a year, and sometimes the 13th, but you wait all year for this stuff, and they're actually wearing uniforms that aren't hideous. If they were in neon, I'd say just fuck it, do something else. They're wearing uniforms that ought to bring back other great memories, and maybe they do something special. I don't think so, but that would be the incentive, is to watch a team you only get to watch 12 times a year.
Next one from Derek. How long does Mel Tucker get to rebuild this program?
So if you look at his first real class that's true freshmen now, when they are redshirt juniors and seniors, so that is not next year, not 2023, not 2024, but 2025. Like that year, when they're playing Ohio State, doesn't matter who they're playing, based on what you're paying him to do, they ought to be competitive. And before that, I would say 2024, you ought to see them competitive and competing and have a chance with everybody else in the Big Ten, even the really good teams.
Derek Spartan, what is going on with President Stanley and the board?
I don't know the latest. I mean, I'm seeing the articles, but I have not been paying a great deal of attention because it's a lot of drama that I hate to say this out loud, but I don't care a lot about.
All right. Tyrone Couch, Brandon Jordan, still a beast. How long before we can expect to see obvious results, or are we seeing what we will get?
So Ryan Black's final story with us will actually be a really good feature on Brandon Jordan. Sat down with him this week, and looking forward to that. And so that'll run after he's gone sometime next week, I believe. And I think there's great value in him in recruiting already. Now, whether you'll see that in the pass rush results, I mean, guys swear by him who are pros. Does that mean he's not the defensive line coach as well? So they got another guy doing a lot of the other stuff. I still think there's great value in him. I still think they're going to have to fight to keep him. I think other people are going to want him.
Tyrone Couch, was Al dropping garbage pail kids the greatest? Oh, wait, did I skip somebody?
Nope, you're good.
Oh, Tyrone Couch, was Al dropping garbage pail kids the greatest part of your day too?
What was this? Did I miss this?
Because I think there was a question about garbage pail kids down here calling me Al, so you kind of.
Oh.
These are out of order. That's why I was saying.
Oh, that's happened. Sorry. Okay.
So
keep going.
Tyrone Couch, why the F do store workers come and change my self-checkout kiosk to English? No me molestes, pincha puta.
Thank you, Tyrone.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Something molested?
I'm not going to put it in my Google because I'm scared what'll come up if I put it in my Google browser.
Putas? Cucker Tarlson. Why is MSU basketball playing Brown and Buffalo? Never seen them play before.
I like the Buffalo match. Brown is
scary.
Is Wojcik's kid. Doug Wojcik's kid plays for Brown, so they're playing Brown. So they're playing against his son. That's why that matchup happened. Buffalo, I'm not exactly sure on the relationship. They play a lot of teams from around the MAC, and it's Buffalo's turn.
Next one from Cucker. $10,000 free credit to bet plus 10-1 bet on each side. Ohio State puts up plus or minus 58 points. What are you taking? Man, 10 G's. I got it. It's too good of a question, I think.
Yeah.
I'm going to answer it, though. I think I'm going to take the under. I just think with Thorne and that offense, possibly they could score maybe 2 touchdowns or something. I don't know.
And the other thing that's happened here is, first of all, they haven't scored 58 in either of the last, even though they put up 50 or more, they haven't gotten to 58 in either of the last 2 games. It's not like you're trying to make a point against Michigan State. You've made the point the last couple of years. I don't know that. I'm not saying Ryan, and I'm not. I just don't think that Ryan Day is going to run up the score in this game. It's poor form on the road, It's I'm not saying
Why
they're going
is it poor form on the road? What do you mean?
I don't know, but they're going to stop. They're not going to stop playing. But I just don't.
If guys on the defense for Michigan State aren't 15 yards near a guy, I mean, what are you supposed to do? Just fall down?
Fair enough.
Next one from Cucker. What service will the World Cup be streamed on?
Fox has the World Cup.
Grindr.
That too.
Next one from Cucker. Why isn't there a personal penalty limit in football like basketball has?
By the way, Fox will get real interesting with the World Cup during the late in college football season and the NFL. Like, that's going to be a fascinating dance for them.
And Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt do soccer.
Gus Johnson's done some soccer. So would you be a fan of 5 holding penalties and you're out of the game?
No.
Well, no. Yeah. No.
Jesus. The Lions already don't have enough players. Neurotic Pants. Even in a shitty season, isn't it okay to have fun by exaggerated, super stupid responses to games? For example, I enjoyed the hockey exhibition, but I had to rant about them losing to the best 17-year-olds in the country. As with football, hyperbole helps me cope.
It's absolutely fine. So, I mean, look.
Depends on who you ask, apparently, though.
Why, was I down?
No, it just seems like sometimes if you're angry about the way the football team is playing or something, you talk about it, it's like, these are just kids.
No, and
if I have families.
If I responded poorly, Mr. Neurotic Pants, I apologize. But no, I think you can have fun any way you want to. I don't know what to fix that post. If you would. I don't know whether
is that advice or
apologies.
Neurotic Pants. Jason, if Mel Tucker manages to recruit well but doesn't show great prowess in assistant coach selection, then doesn't he turn into the dude down the road or James Franklin? Well, yeah, he turns into James Franklin for sure. If you're recruiting guys but you're losing close games like that, I don't think Tucker's shown that as of yet. I mean, if you listen to Graham, you got to give him a decade.
I didn't say that. You got to give him until 2024, 25, which is like 2-3 years. So,
all right. Neurotic Pants. Graham, please go out on a limb here. Would this MSU team win the MAC? Is the MAC especially weak this year?
It's not as strong. There are years that they would not win the MAC because the MAC has a really good team or a couple good teams. This MSU team, I believe, would win the MAC this year. Yes.
Neurotic Pants. Graham, I haven't watched 2 of MSU's 3 Big Ten games, but has State, in its own pathetic way, improved a bit each time. Were there things Maryland that looked improved?
Things in Maryland? Yeah. Defensively in the second half, that was promising. But, certainly they didn't improve in their own way against Minnesota. So, no. And the offense went the other way. They what's weird about this team is they have played the opposite of complementary football. Without question.
Some dude next. How do pants become neurotic and the basis for families' nomenclature? If it's clearly a surname, how does one make a soup from farts? What does it taste like and how does it tweet? I'm clearly interested in the soup.
Appreciate you, some dude.
Some dude. Also, how does Pro Football Focus equitably grade out 10 trillion college football players on Saturday and 5 trillion pro football players on Sunday within hours of game completion? And you know that every single one of them is graded out because Shakir Brown was once among the top 5 cornerbacks in all of college football for a game against Incarnate Word. This is obviously complete bullshit.
I do sometimes question it. But
I want to get an Incarnate Word hat or shirt or something.
Yeah. Well,
my favorite.
Next time I'm in San Antonio, I'll swing by.
Well, we can make them. I mean, I don't need like an official one, but
well, it'd be better to have an official. We can just call the student bookstore and they'll send you one.
No. Call me Al next. Jason, is there a better non-sports card than Garbage Pail Kids?
I see where that came from now.
Soccer? Get it? Non-sport soccer. I got to say, Garbage Pail Kids, call me Al. Like, I was into it when I was a kid, obviously. Were you into Garbage Pail Kids, Graham?
A little bit for a brief spot.
But, I love vintage stuff. And those, I mean, obviously, Garbage Pail Kids from the 80s are really expensive, and I haven't really got back into them. So, but I love non-sports kind of stuff. And what was the other question that we missed that was up there?
Was it the best thing of the day or something? I don't know. Yeah.
Call me Al. Graham, have you FOIA'd emails to Haller regarding Hazleton over the last 3 weeks to compare to MSU Twitter? Why not?
Haller's got a bunch of burners. He's out there just ripping Hazleton. Yeah, I've not done that.
Next from Call Me Al. Is there something going on with the team chemistry, even if you can't talk about it?
Not that I have heard, and you get an inkling of this sort of stuff. And I saw somebody say something about the locker room. I have not heard anything that there are issues with the team. I'm sure there are guys who are frustrated. I mean, you've lost 3 games, but nothing like 2016. There's no great divide, or even the 2012. You had a situation where the offense and defense were sort of divided. Nothing like that.
Dark Mantonio. Jason, you said Harry might be able to get you to go to Ann Arbor, I'm assuming, for the Michigan MSU game, but could your friend Jordan get you there? Oh, God, no. There's no way. Because Jordan goes with, like, his uncles, and they're Michigan fans.
Well, and you guys have tried watching the game together. It doesn't work.
Oh, with him and I. I don't think that Harry's not coming in for the Michigan State game, right? No, I would never.
Wisconsin,
we can't watch games together anymore. Michigan State, that is.
I forget which week. It's it's not this weekend. It's the next weekend. Yeah, no, we'll look at whether the schedules work. I mean, the challenge is that day that he's in Ann Arbor. I've also got to cover a Michigan State game here, so it's not like I can just bail on that. And the Friday night, I believe I have to be at an MSU hockey game.
I'd rather get on a plane and just go to Arizona
and hang out with Harry. There. Yeah, we at some point we will get together with Harry because I would really like to do that.
Dark Mantonio. Did you hear Cover 3 podcast basically calling Jack Ebling out for not having Kansas in his top 25?
I did not hear that, but it does not. Jack Ebling should not have a vote because, like, Ebling should have a vote more than most beat writers because I think he sees more football. But he's at least all the Michigan State home games, some road games. But if you're going to go to a game and then stick around for the press conference in the middle of a college football day and get there early.
I trust Jack with a vote, though.
I'm just saying.
He stays up to all hours in the morning. Like,
maybe.
He sees all that stuff and follows it. But by the way, I listen to Cover 3 podcast, Dark. Can you tell me which one and what timestamp maybe? I'd like to hear that. But Ebling definitely deserves a vote.
Ebling deserves it if any writer does. I'm just saying if you take 5 hours out of the middle of your Saturday to watch one game, you're missing a lot of football, is all I'm saying. I don't think anybody's watching. Yeah,
I agree with that, but I think Jack catches up on stuff.
Yeah, no, Jack probably does as well. Plus, Jack is up late. I mean,
he's been married for like 60 years, so
he
does his own thing.
I apologize. I take that back.
Next one from Dark. Safer bet to cover their huge spread over a usually good conference opponent: Bama, Ohio State, or Georgia. Ohio State, I gotta say. I mean, Bama intrigues me too. Because I think A&M has just given up, and Bama.
I'm trying to think of teams I've historically, and historically it's been Ohio State too. I'm just thinking about teams Ohio State will have that one game that kind of screws you, but Bama doesn't cover as much as you think. Because
their spreads are so like 49.5 and 51, and
and there's usually 1 or 2 conference road games that they really wind up in a tussle you don't expect. I would say Ohio State too.
Romulus Dillashaw. Why isn't Ma'a Giotote playing more than a field goal blocks?
I don't know. I mean, he's at linebacker, and he just hasn't been the guy. It's a fair question. I don't know the answer. I think somebody recently there was, I think they're happy with the way he's playing and all that stuff. There's, it's hard to get on the field in college football, although you think with his defense, right? I mean, I get that.
Romulus, what are your top gambling wins?
Top gambling win all time for you?
I mean, is it like poker or just sports betting?
I guess anything.
I mean, it's more poker than sports betting, to be honest, because I've never really won like an exorbitant amount of money through that. It's just kind of either poker or blackjack. Poker, I've flipped $100 into like $1,500, $1,700, walked out with $1,700, stuff like that. But as far as sports bets, I do parlays that are $25 anymore, really. I went on a great run in 2006 in the NFL playoffs, and I didn't lose the game, including the Super Bowl. That was when I had a bookie, and he had to show up to my work with a envelope of cash. So that was pretty awesome.
That's a great feeling. My best amount total, and there are probably some stuff that I blacked out about in my 20s when I lost a lot in early years, but I had $50 on Pitt to win the ACC championship last year at plus 4,000 and won $2,000 off it. So now I did.
You didn't want to double down like Desmond Howard?
I did. No, I did hedge.
College football playoff.
I didn't win all of that because they were playing Wake, I think, in the championship game, and I did hedge a little bit just because I was like, "Whoa, crap! They got all the way here, and they're not playing Clemson." And so, but I won at least like $1,500.
If you're a producer for College Game Day, though, and you look at Desmond's playoff bracket, shouldn't you talk to him? Isn't that the equivalent of what Hazleton's doing with the defense? If you have that Final Four,
it was. Pretty bad.
You picked Pittsburgh. Holy shit, Hans Jurgens.
After they lost, like. It wasn't even Pittsburgh last year. It was Pittsburgh after they lose a first-round draft pick quarterback.
Kenny Pickett, yeah.
Yeah.
Hans Jurgens, Don't you think Jay Johnson's offense is designed for a read option quarterback like Braxton Miller, who's better at running than passing? Wouldn't Peyton Thorne be better in an offense that doesn't ask for the quarterback to run the read option? Give the guy a fullback and more play action.
I mean, I think they should use Peyton Thorne to run more.
Running for his life.
Yeah, that's true. Braxton Miller, I was not a huge Braxton Miller guy. I don't like guys who aren't quarterbacks first. They're just playing out of position a little bit. But, I don't know if that's the case. I think Jay Johnson and Peyton Thorne have a pretty good chemistry. The one thing I would like to see with Jay Johnson, I know people get frustrated with him, and I don't know if he'll get this chance at MSU or how soon. I would like to see a sort of a complete offense and what he would do with a really good offensive line with weapons everywhere.
Next one from Hans. How do you deal with coworkers that disagree with you? How often, or how do you diffuse a contentious workplace?
Punches? No, you just say, fuck it. Take them out for beers. Coffee. Skyman.
Hans Jurgen. You like any movies at the theaters right now? Because MSU football blows.
I'm not doing a lot of theaters, so I mean, I can recommend watching the show Reboot on Hulu. Like that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. When there's a good movie out in the theaters, but I mean, when's the last one that's been out there that
really
you can watch it at home now?
That really stirred you to go. I know everybody. A lot of people.
Top Gun, right?
Yeah. I didn't go. Did you go to that?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Hans, with this one, is finding a fun workplace a fool's errand? Is it better to seek a job that financially satisfies your needs than finding one that is rewarding? Isn't a fun workplace fleeting? For you, I have the other MSU writers have always been fun to be around. Do they suck some days?
Some days they suck, but it's a great beat though. You hear about other places where it's just like, even the Red Wings beat at times in Detroit. The Michigan beat's not the same. People just don't hang out. Like since I've been on it, and Rex Road sent the tone when I was around early.
Oh,
and we've always
thanks, Rex Road.
Yeah, we've always hung around each other, and sure, you get annoyed at each other once in a while, but it is, and you compete with each other. But it makes it. I think a workplace that is fun to be around is worth it. And that's why I keep showing up. Jason's here.
Yeah, that's true. Hans Jurgen, if you started to hate MSU, would you resign or just keep collecting paychecks as a form of revenge?
Probably just keep collecting checks.
Yeah.
Why not? Write some negative columns. Yeah.
Like Lovie Smith, just cash checks everywhere. Jake Hawkins. How much of Peyton Thorne's success was based and reliant on Kenneth Walker last season?
I can see the excitement of Jason. He's getting to the end of the show. He's like, "What, Jake?" No, it's a fair question though, because he has not had good games without him, pretty much. And the second half against Washington was a good sign, but we're still waiting on the sort of Peyton Thorne game where he put them on his shoulders a little bit, and we'll see. And the other thing is he needs a line to protect him enough to do it. But if that happens, I think he has good enough running backs. That's not the issue. The issue is, can they get a running game and protection because of the offensive line. But yeah, there should be some pressure on Thorne to take that next step.
Next one from the Hawk. Did you know that despite all the struggles and a 2-3 record, 2 ESPN writers predicted MSU to make a bowl game? One said the Fenway Bowl a week before Christmas Eve, and one said the Guaranteed Rate Bowl in Phoenix 2 days after Christmas. Thoughts?
I'd happily go to either. I think what's happening is they're not paying attention. They're doing all these bowl games every week. It's like the top 25, so if they're not paying a whole lot of attention to how MSU's actually playing and who they've got left.
Next one from Jake. Should fans be relieved or upset that we won't see Iowa and MSU play each other this season in a game of terrible offense versus a terrible defense? Do you think Iowa offense would shine going up against MSU's defense?
I would like to see Iowa's offense against MSU's defense, actually. Frankly, I would enjoy seeing what came out of that.
I want to say Iowa would come in and do something, maybe score over 21 points.
They would, yeah.
I don't know. Next one from Jake. Did you really tell your wife that you both would possibly be in Nashville for New Year's if MSU makes the Music City Bowl? And was she really not okay with that? What's the problem? Nashville, Tennessee is a pretty fun place, like Jason Aldean says. A crazy town full of neon dreams.
So, mostly because the idea is to go someplace warm. And Nashville's not warmer than here, but, she's thinking, hey, can you get us to, South Florida? or Pasadena.
I'd rather go to Nashville.
Yeah, no, just in terms of a fun
Florida.
time. I mean, we'd have a fun time. That was just her, yeah. No, yeah, yes. I mean, she would not be upset. Although last year she was excited to go on the bowl trip, and then it wound up being Atlanta, and she was like, "Do I have to go?" Those were her words to me. I said, "No, of course not."
Last one from the Hawk. What was your interesting experience at Omar's?
You had an interesting experience at Omar's, right?
I did.
Or did I?
You said you did. I
was there. I was a bachelor. I was the best man and ran a bachelor party in like 2010.
Did you get the boxers out of the vending machine?
Did not, but we got the guy who was the groom. We put him in the shower on stage.
That's what I'm talking about. You have to buy the boxer shorts for $10 in the thing.
Okay, I didn't see that part happen, but I knew he was up. And you know why we put him up there? Because he was he's a guy, drunk, and he was like falling asleep, and they're going to kick you out of there if you fall asleep. And so we just threw him in the shower and it woke him up. It's fantastic.
Upper Deck Jerk Guy.
Your excitement is
it's almost
noted.
If you I have a half-hour drive. You could just go around the corner. If you would take that Draymond punch for money, would that mean you are a Kwamo Dukosukazine? Was this question out of order?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sometimes
this last question is kind of, how much money would it require for you to take a punch from Draymond? Was this?
Sorry, we'll get to that last. Hold on, let me see what this is.
Kwamo Dukosukazine?
Yeah, no, I thought his other question worked as a great final question, and I didn't realize this was tied to an inky fool. Some makes money any possible way. Yeah, no, absolutely, it would absolutely make you that.
Next one from the Jerk Guy. What is something that you've done that made you feel dirty afterward?
What have you done that's made you feel dirty?
Well, we talked about it. The Deja Vu.
Oh, that's right.
Had the booths.
Yeah.
The booths. And you'd go in afterwards, and, of course, you do your business and walk away. Instant regret.
I've
sticky pants.
I've had things I regretted. That not dirty in that sense, but dirty like you took a cheap shot at somebody, or you didn't help somebody who was young out in the business, or you didn't respond. I've done things.
I should have let you go first.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, apologies.
I'm telling about jerking off in a booth at a strip club. You're like, I got a little crazy with a guy. I called him a bunghole, if you know what I mean. Like, what? You always go first from now on.
Okay.
Jerk Guy, what percentage of Spartan Stadium will be red on Saturday?
40%. 40, well.
Over.
Over 40.
I'm going over.
Although when I was a kid, my dad first got us tickets. He would always wind up accidentally wearing his red parka when they were playing Indiana, Wisconsin, or Ohio State. We'd be walking to the game, he'd look down and be like, oh, shit, I'm in red again. It always looked like a visiting fan.
Jerk Guy, will we know Izzo is close to retiring when he actually does play his own defense?
If he does, and it was funny because he brought it up again, but he brought it up like more seriously, and they just actually worked on it. And then I asked Malik Hall, like, if he called it from the sideline, what would you do? He's like, well, I'd definitely have to do a double take and be like, what? Are we really fucking doing this? He didn't say fucking, but I added that for effect. If he did, it would be awesome. I hope he does it in some random game that makes it the story of the day when you're looking for. I mean, I don't know if it means he's done, but it means he's changed because he's been saying that shit for years and he never does it.
Lastly, from the Jerk Guy, how much money would it require for you to take a punch from Draymond?
There it is. All right, what would it take for you?
Well, I mean, do I just stand there and he sucker punches me?
Full swing, yeah.
Oh shit! I mean, we're talking.
This is some damage. $5 million. Oh, what do you take? $5 million? No,
dude. If he gets just a punch, I'm not saying he's like a boxer or anything, but if he connects,
yeah, that's true.
I mean, I could be talked into $10K.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's about my price.
Lawyers get involved. You got to shoot high for millions, you know?
Yeah. It wouldn't take too much more than 10. I would just try and recover from it. Hope he didn't land it too well. Broken nose and all. Yeah.
Jordan Poole bragged about his pool.
What are you going to do? We appreciate all of you. We appreciate Groovy Donuts. Go to groovydonuts.com and get your orders in, or just swing by Groovy Donuts in Williamson or Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday through Sunday. We appreciate Skymint Premium Cannabis. Swing by Skymint before the Michigan State game. Just a public, PSA, so to speak. We appreciate Firekeepers. And if you're looking for a cool experience on a football weekend, go down to Firekeepers in Battle Creek off I-94. Thank you to Hopcat as well for the Hopcat question. Cosmic Fries, question of the day. We'll be back Sunday night with our hot takes.